Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. We are now deep into the summer 2026 season, and I think I can say it's a good one. We got a lot of high quality shows this season. A lot of shows I would say are whether I would put them in anime of the year running or not, I would say they are anime of the year caliber type shows.
Yeah. These are shows that I'm looking forward to watching shows every week, which is...
And they have a certain, prestige quality to them.
Yeah. They're interesting. Even the ones which I'm not as into are still interesting, which I think is the most important thing.
That's the thing, right? Like, normally you'd be like, oh, yeah, time to catch up with weekly anime. I could, sort of take it or leave it, even when it's good. But here I'm, genuinely interested in seeing what else they'll pull out of their hats. And that's not something I really saw coming in this season.
Yeah, that's how they always get us, right? Yeah, I was trimming. We had our first look episode last time. I was trimming out the shows that we're not watching anymore, and I didn't really cut that many. There's quite a few still on the list here, so we will get into all of that. But first, let's introduce everybody. I'm Jel. I'm not joined by Iro. I feel a great disturbance here, an imbalance of power.
He's finally escaped after you trapped him in here for months.
Maybe this time he really is dead.
Well,
no.
As far as I know, he is not dead yet, so I will say that in his absence. But yes, I feel like the balance of GLORIO America power here is
has shifted.
Usual.
That wouldn't be a reflection on anything in real life, would it?
Well, I do still have UG though. You're still with me.
I am, yes, and I'm here to inform everybody that it was fun. Look, we all had our fun with how gay Gundam had been for the last 5 to 7 years.
Oh, right. Only 5 to 7 years?
Yes, definitely. Gundam had never been gay prior to
Witch for Mercury.
I don't know what you're talking about, G. G-Quix was the least actually gay Gundam ever made.
Yes, no. Here's the thing. In all seriousness, if you got queer baited,
yes,
if you got queer baited by G-Quix, you lost chess to the dog. But... for the sake of the bit, Gundam has been gay too long, so naturally the correction is here. Don't worry, folks, we finally have a Gundam for the gamers. Everybody, a round of applause for Mobile Suit Gundam, RG, ARX, the X is silent, Zero. The next TV... anime Gundam.
I said this on Blue Sky, but they are just somebody has a bet to come up with increasingly stupid names for Gundam projects at this point.
Dog, we used to regardless of quality, we used to just call it Gundam Seed, Gundam Age, these nice Gundam Wing, these nice one-word titles, man.
We used to call Gundam Stern A, and the A would also be upside down, so Stern A upside down is just A.
God. But yes,
here is a good post from My Name is Grant on Blue Sky. Gundam Zero is also not the Zero Gundam, which is not the O from Gundam. And even though it's not a prequel to Double O, it is the sequel, but that's a coincidence. This show is called ARX, pronounced Alex, which is not the Gundam Alex from 0080.
Yep.
Those zeros are also unrelated to this Zero.
Gundam's a mess, and this Gundam is especially messy for a lot of reasons. Look, again, we can save a lot of this. Look, you know me, but I understand we got a lot of anime to talk about, so we'll save a lot of this for when this show actually airs, but Gundam has always been a weird franchise, and I think despite, some of our feelings about G-Quix and Witch for Mercury, about, I think those shows are, good to interesting but flawed, right? But I think at the end of the day, they were enjoyable to follow from week to week, right? We all remember the good old days of Soletta Sundays, and I think it's that you almost forget that Gundam is this like massive bloated franchise weighed down by decades, a near half century of history.
I don't know. Like Requiem for Vengeance was like a year ago.
Look, to be clear, right? Gundam is bad all the time, right? But but when we're talking about TV anime, I think TV anime Gundam has actually been pretty decent as of late.
Yeah.
We all forget that they aired Iron-Blooded Orphans for an entire year and no one gave a shit.
No,
those people are out there. No, I'm sorry.
Yes, I know it has shooters. It has. I know.
Yes, but
there are
yes,
so many people who give a shit about Iron-Blooded Orphans.
But I think the thing I would just say to keep it brief is since I am the Gundam guy, people may be expecting my take on this. I think XARX-ZERO is the most boring-looking new Gundam I have seen in some time. Like distinctly sauceless.
It has no hook.
Like, where's the salt? Like, even, it's an alien-focused Gundam, which is at least what they're claiming, right? But also it is still the main character's name is fake Amuro Ray. It's Amuro Ray at home, and there's a fake Char Aznavour with a red Gundam, and.
Gee, I hate to break it to you, but you can't start complaining about Gundam shows having fake Chars in them.
I know, but the point is, like, the fact that we're back to this, right? Like, the Gundam itself is really boring, which is strange because it's designed by Eiichi Shimizu, who's, like, a genuinely very talented mecha artist. And it's like... I don't know. It's like they gave all of his designs Ozempic, man. It's weird. I don't know. Like it's hard to describe it in a audio podcast. But
what if we needed to render it in Unreal Engine 5?
Yeah, right. It has that vibe, right, of like Gundam by Unreal, right? Like all the mobile suits have this like really human proportions. And I know, to be clear, Gundams are basically big robot people, but they're like really humanoid, right? They're like almost like it's funny, like these are in some ways proportionally more Evangelion adjacent than even the GQuX designs, because the GQuX designs were so weird that like they don't really read as human, but these really feel like just guys in suits in a way that's just not very visually exciting. And
okay, now look, if they actually were guys in suits, that would be
that changes the thing entirely, right? Yeah, like of course, but like Sunrise could never be so brave, but
they were once.
So I guess I would say, like, look, what do I always say? Gundam can be good, Gundam can be bad, but like at the very least, I need Gundam to be interesting.
At the very least, we need 3 more years of Three Houses discourse. God damn it, I fumbled that.
I mean, the Gundam fandom's version of that joke is 3 more years of Witch from Mercury discourse, right? And it's like, I unironically think when this show is airing, because I think a lot of people became fans of Gundam, or at least became introduced to Gundam through Witch from Mercury.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like huge like boost in the West, and I unironically think a lot of those people who were brought in by Witch from Mercury who are watching this show, there's probably going to be a lot of like, oh, how come this isn't as good or interesting as Witch from Mercury? So, we'll see. I don't want to write it off entirely. Like, it's
we've seen like 300 seconds of it.
Exactly, right? Like, but it's a thing of like, even the Gundams that went bad eventually, like an Iron-Blooded Orphans, still like caught my interest on first impression. And the fact that this one has not even done that really has me kind of worried. But
yeah,
on the bright side, apparently 12 episode runs is just normal for Gundam now. So even if this show is god-awful, unlike having to live with Seed for about 4 years straight, I only have to live with Gundam XARX-ZERO for about a single season of anime.
Yeah, well,
no, it's gonna turn out that this one gets like the full 50.
No, I think they actually did say 12 episodes.
Oh, okay.
It is also a bit, tied in with the game that they announced.
Right.
If you really want to say Gundam in Unreal, it's the video game.
I mean,
actually.
That's why I said it. Like,
is this gonna? Yeah. Are they gonna tie this in with that live action movie?
No, I don't think so.
Because I don't think Sunrise functionally have any oversight over that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think they do to a certain extent. I know people have been taking, like, behind the scenes like photos
I mean,
of the sets, and it does seem like it's going to be a UC story. So
I mean,
Sure,
they
I'm sure
say
they
that
have.
movie has rep production, so
Probably not then. Yeah, but yeah, we gotta keep it moving here. But yeah, we'll see on that one. Small sample size, right? But yeah, I agree. It just the first glance is very sauceless, but we'll see.
any minute now they're gonna drop that first picture of Sydney Sweeney in a plug suit, and Woke will be dead forever.
Anyway, as everyone's already heard, we're joined by both Zig and Aqua this time.
Oh, we don't even get separate introductions now.
Okay,
nah, you
well,
guys are just the Europeans.
Yeah,
We're
we're
joined by Zig. I'll introduce you first, Zig. Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Yep, still with us. And we have Aqua with us.
I'm avoiding jury duty.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Fuck
So, yeah.
justice, am I right?
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to talk about here on our list. A lot of the good animes we were saying, but it's a rare opportunity for both Zig and Aqua to be on the podcast, and there are a lot of things going on in the Tokusatsu world apparently. So while you guys are here, if you want to give an update on the current state of Kamen Rider and the Not Super Sentai show, because I've heard some
Project
things that you can say.
RED.
So, Aqua, tell me about Hyperspace Sheriff Gavan Infinity.
It's a show about
Nothing.
space police guys who don't do any policing.
And also don't do a great deal of spacing, to be honest.
Yeah, like this show has wrapped up somewhat surprisingly after 23 episodes. They tried to sort of raise the stakes on a show that has mostly been episodic up until now by, well, doing two things. First of all, putting the one girl out of commission, because of course they did. And second of all, by like doing the standard villain does the Sephiroth monologue of I know you have rage inside of you, unleash it and become just as wicked as me. And it just doesn't work because main character has just been a goofy goober the entire show. Like, they desperately want you to think that he has a hidden dark side that he needs to, like, Persona style embrace in order to reach his full potential and save the universe. But it's a little too late, right? The show has been so off and on again, like weirdly vacillating between being like an action episodic sort of monster of the week kind of thing, a slice of life comedy, a serious plot about like a cult taking over the galaxy by harvesting human emotions. It has not learned from the bad Super Sentai seasons it is trying to replicate, right? It has been trying to be too plot oriented, too traditionally heroic, while we have always argued that Sentai, or the show that replaces it, ought to be more just comedic fun times. I don't know if you agree, Zig.
I don't entirely agree, because I think that the problem is not that it's been too plot oriented, but that it kind of hasn't been plot oriented enough, if that makes sense. I think even in the goofy Super Sentai seasons, there's generally like, we generally have some idea of like what the stakes are, and then there is generally some sort of build up to the things that happen. And here it just feels like a complete random events plot. There is no build up, there is no sort of consistent thread through the show. It just feels, it's incredibly bland is the problem. It's so bland. It's just a whole load of nothing. And even by Toku standards, it's a whole load of nothing, and that's really saying something. Yeah, I just don't feel any way about it. It's kind of, I mean, Joe, you called that trailer sauceless. This is kind of on a whole different level of sauceless from that. It's just
sort of
so
plays at being a complex ensemble sort of show because technically it is set across 3 different universes, each with their own like Gavan hero character and their supporting cast. But what it simply comes down to is our main hero, the Red Gavan, who's the only one who can travel through dimensions, just sort of visiting and babysitting all of these incredibly one-note side characters and going on all sorts of weird adventures to them that the show clearly thinks are like puzzle pieces to be pieced together, but they just sort of go nowhere, like Zig said. Like, they don't hint at anything thematically cohesive. It's more like a bunch of cliches, like, oh, there's an evil cult, interdimensional cult, and also the police that we are working for has been infiltrated by the cult, so trust no one. It is, they're throwing all sorts of things at the wall, but nothing is sticking.
I mean, the most damning thing I can say is that it's a show for 6-year-olds that feels like a show for 6-year-olds. You know, like, there is no depth or complexity to any of it, you know, and that's fine. It's just children's TV, but it's pretty disappointing.
It's just also not fun toku. Like, the weapons are not cool, the fights are not fun, the suits are not, like, impressive, the robots are not, like, fun to watch. It is not camp enough to be enjoyable on the level of camp, but it is not serious enough to be enjoyable on the level of serious. It's just kind of cheap and shoddy. It is, extruded product, as Zero would say.
Is it you know, are they playing it too safe, or just whatever from replacing Super Sentai? Or
I think they're just not trying.
Not
really.
Just, we gotta fill the time slot, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
The thing is, there have been good Sentai shows or good Tokusatsu shows with fairly uninspired premises. I mean, we enjoyed Bakuage Sentai Boom Boomja, and that is like the 5th time they've done a car-themed Sentai.
Right.
You know, but it was fun because they made the characters fun and put them in interesting and funny situations, right? You know, it was just the right mix of genuine, this is cool, and also this is dumb, and that made it spark a little, you know. And I think, you know, we've said this a couple of times, but a huge amount of the quality of a Tokusatsu show is related to like how good the random idols they get to play the characters are, and the guys in this one are just not very good. You know, they don't really have anything more than one gear. They're not like wooden or anything, but they don't really bring anything to the material either, and the material isn't worth bringing anything to begin with. And the net result is wallpaper.
Well, that sounds like a flop then, huh?
Yes, it was not great.
It's sort of interesting to see where they'll be going next with quote-unquote Project Red, because the next show that they have announced, which has actually started airing today, we have not seen the first episode yet, but it is called, well, they translate it as Beast-Stirring Hunter Omega Horn, and it seems to be some kind of like Monster Hunter kind of show, which is set in like a weird like wastelandy world with this kid like trying to catch giant monsters that are actually just guys in suits.
A bit of the old Pokemon, Monster Rancher stuff happening there,
which at least seems to be something that is trying to distance itself a little bit more from the Sentai formula, right? Because like this show, Gavan Infinity could have just been like another like cop-themed Sentai.
Sentai Space Cop.
Yeah, they are even color-coded for your convenience.
Right. Whereas with Omega Horn, I at least get the feeling they're trying to bug the formula a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Also, regretfully, now the show is over, we can say that there was no cameo appearance by the late, great Keiji Oba, the original Space Sheriff Gavan, for understandable reasons, but still, I feel kind of cheated.
We do have to shout out that one bit in the final episode where they are like, he's like fighting the final boss, and they're hopping between dimensions during the fight, and all of a sudden, they go into a dimension where everything's hand animated, so it's like 20 seconds of crazy Sakuga, and then they go back to being Toku, which is like
That's a
the
fun
only fun original thing this show has done.
Yeah.
It's like that bit in Evangelion, in the last Evangelion movie, where it becomes Toku, except the other way around.
I don't know if it's quite like that, but yes, in the reverse.
That does remind me. I, as well as Eros, saw End of Evangelion in theaters, and
You saw that guy flipping you off on the big screen.
hell yeah! It was. Hey, turns out that movie is still one of
Really
the greatest
something.
looking movies ever made. Probably one of the nicest looking things Gainax has ever made.
Yeah, when you guys mentioned that, I was like, didn't we just watch that for when we did the podcast?
Brother, that was
7 years ago. Go back and shout out to Neon Genesis Evan Glorio, everybody. Go back and watch our when we did that rewatch 7 years ago. But anyway,
They were better podcasts.
back to Toku.
Anyway, Zig, do you believe in your dream?
I believe in my dream, Aqua. And my dream was a great Kamen Rider show, and we have a great Kamen Rider show. Kamen Rider Zeztz, we are almost at the end. It kicks ass. It rules. So much crazy stuff is happening. It is the perfect balance of I was just saying, Gavan did not find it, but this show is the perfect balance of this is so cool and this is so stupid.
Nice.
So, like in Zeztz, like basically we have moved on from kind of like the kind of Cold War, like spy versus spy stuff, and in the way that Kamen Riders generally do, it has escalated to like a battle against gods for the fate of the planet, as you'd expect,
right? As you do.
But they've done a great job at like tying it back into existing character arcs and existing characters. They've done a really good job of like escalating continuously, basically, so that like it feels deserved and it feels like that we've got here through like honest sort of tension and escalation to this point. They've done a really good job of juggling the characters, so a whole load of them have been interesting. They have even given some depth to the dude who is just the Joker, but a rare positive use of the Joker showing up, I will say.
See, he was born in a criminal family,
yes,
which they convey by showing you like a birthday party for a 6-year-old kid, and he gets like a cartoon gift box, and he opens it, and inside is a gun.
Hell yeah.
So my one disappointment was they do not actually give us a picture of the kid holding the gun. If this show had been made in like 1994, they absolutely would have shown him firing it. But
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's that kind of like, this is really goofy, but it makes sense and like works in the context of the character.
Mm-hmm.
It is the best kind of Toku where you can laugh about how stupid it is, but also just kind of like enjoy it in the context of the story. I mean, the thing we were joking about at the beginning is they killed off, we'll see how dead he actually is, because nobody stays dead in even a normal Kamen Rider show. But they killed off the main character, the main character's father, who was like head of the evil spy agency. And just before he dies, like they frame him like he's going to do like a final monologue or something. But then it just zooms in on him, and he bugs his eyes out and goes, "I believe in my dream," in English, really loudly and fully, and it's insane. Also, he's played by the guy who did all the bad English in Gunhead, so it's just a really
the English is a real chef's kiss on that one, right?
Yes, there is a lot of English in this show, and it is mostly completely grammatically correct, but it's still really goofy because they treat speaking English like this super cool guy thing.
Spies speak English, so he can speak English because he's a spy. And when he's not a spy anymore, he loses the ability to speak English.
Yes, that was actually a minor plot point.
It's like that bit in Birdie Wing where Eve is like, "Oh, I guess I can speak English, huh?"
God.
Yeah,
like Birdie Wing, but yes.
So anyway, like we have reached the point where like they are fighting the obligatory final bad guys, who of course are the 4 heavenly kings, because that's how Japanese media works.
They're the four horsemen of the apocalypse:
Well, they could
oblivion, punishment, catastrophe, and phantom.
Yes, and they could also be that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I am just. We are close enough to the end now that even if it kind of ends with a wet fart, I'm going to say that like this has been the best Kamen Rider show in quite a while at this point. It has been genuinely exciting, genuinely funny. I really like the characters, and I think that they have written a really well put together, tight plot. I think it's becoming a little bit loosey goosey at the end here, but that's kind of just every Kamen Rider show.
Yeah.
And to an extent, every like show that runs for 50 episodes.
They just build to one climax after. Like, this is especially prominent in this writer's shows, like Yu Yu Takahashi. Geats had this, 01 had this, where they just build to one climax after another, and then something goes wrong that causes it to escalate to a further climax.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting a last-minute swerve, but we'll see. But like I said, I think it has been one of the best Toku shows I've seen ever, really, and a really, really strong season overall.
Yeah, nice. Well,
shout out to the latest episode, which is a recap episode that still has like significant emotional weight and plot significance to it.
They made a clip show that is it's only about 40% clip show, and B, actually is like surprisingly emotional and plot critical, so they're operating on a pretty high level here. Anyway,
nice.
Yeah, it's great. We'll report in next time when the show will probably be finished.
Okay, and what do we have the next Kamen Rider queued
yes,
up?
Yes, it's called Kamen Rider Myth, MYTH, but it's pronounced mice,
and
of course. It is cat and mouse themed.
He's a mouse, and he has to run away from the cat.
Well, we'll come back to that.
Serious shit.
He has a cheese on his helmet.
Hey, look, how long is Kamen Rider
existed? Right now? Like, are you? This is not a bit.
It's not a bit. This is actually what the next Kamen Rider is.
All right.
How long has Kamen Rider existed? They might be scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I mean,
it's 55 years this year.
Oh, well, you didn't say it was Myth Wait, is this MY-TH?
Yes.
I don't know. They've spelled it.
So it's MY with a hyphen in the middle, TH.
But it's pronounced mice.
Yeah.
Yes. Well.
Yes.
They saw Gundam and couldn't help themselves.
Also, like the official rule of Kamen Rider is because this looks like the stupidest premise possible. This will probably be like a super dark season with like loads of really fucked up shit.
Remember the Candy Mafia one?
All right. Well, we'll come back to that when it airs. But hey, you got one good show out of it. It sounds.
Yeah. Like. The rule abides. The rule continues to abide.
There have been rare intervals where both shows have been good, but for the most part, when Super Sentai, or in this case Super Sentai's replacement, is bad, Kamen Rider will be good, and vice versa.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on and talk about some anime. So we've got quite a bit to talk about, like we mentioned, and we can start with Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You.
The coolest anime.
Yes. I finished all the available episodes, so what is essentially the first 6 episodes. It's very good. As someone who has watched many anime rom-coms, this is a good one. In ways that are, of course, hard to explain on a podcast because a lot of it is the writing, the dialogue, and the relationships between the characters, which I think they do a good job of. I've mentioned before, I appreciate the relationship between the main characters. They do a good job of making it feel like they're actually growing a relationship over time. I've mentioned they handle the age gap in fun ways that's not something that you see very often. But
it also helps that in this show the characters are at least both like fully grown adults.
Yes,
right?
Everybody in this show is a grown ass adult. Yes. They've kind of set it up where, yes, you've kind of got your kind of goofy hook of, he doesn't know that he's the cute girl. He doesn't know that she's the cute girl at the register or whatever, this cool lady that he's smoking with. But they kind of set it up where that becomes a way for their relationship to develop in a more natural way and kind of highlight that they have a real relationship. Whereas like I'll give you one example in these episodes, because a big arc in the back half is it is summertime, right? So and he sees the cute girl at the register is wearing short sleeves, and this makes his heart go doki doki, right?
Hussy.
But later on, when he's smoking with her behind the supermarket, she's got her leather jacket and her like crop top with her abs out and everything. And you probably should watch the show, G.
I am. What do you?
Okay.
I mean, I've not caught up to where you're
Yes.
at. I have watched. I am watching at the regular pace they are putting them out at. So I am on episode 3.
Yeah. So she and of course she knows that he was checking her out her short sleeves before, and she like takes off her. I should point out she is way into him, like way more than he's into her.
Yeah,
so like
that's been the dynamic, right?
Yeah, so she's like openly trying to flirt with him, and he's just too dumb to figure it out, right? But
the classic shonen partnership.
yes,
it's a little like, here's the thing, right? It's like, look, guys being dense to like women's advances is nothing new. That's a tale as old as time.
Yeah,
this man is dense on a whole nother level. This is neutron star dense, right?
I'll get into that in a second, but yeah, but to highlight kind of the difference of how he's like idealized her like work persona as like this perfect woman or whatever, and that he's putting up on the pedestal, and then like when they're out together, when they're together smoking, she's like very intentionally takes off her jacket to show off her arms and her stomach and everything, and he's like, oh no, you're gonna get cold, here, take my jacket and cover yourself up. And it's like just to show like the completely different relationship he has with the same person is kind of fun. But yeah, I will say to your point, G, there is a certain layer of anime innocence to everything that is like a little off with people who are grown ass adults, many of them in their 40s. I'm pretty sure the main guy has never seen a naked woman, and I don't mean like in person. I mean like ever, like on the internet or any other.
Okay.
I mean, at some point the cliches just perpetuate themselves, right? Like this is just what like an anime guy in a rom-com is supposed to act like.
I feel like
either that or like a sex offender.
I feel like he would be like on a website and an ad with like a woman in a bikini would pop up, and he would like immediately click off or something because it's
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I would also do that because it's an ad.
Yeah, I mean, close the whole page, not click on the ad, right? But yes. So there's a little bit of that in there, and it was very funny as we approached the end of this block of episodes. Because I from what I understand, this will be like the middle of the season, basically, right? So for their big kind of dramatic, twist climax thing at the end, they're like, they do two things. One, the main guy's got to go for his annual physical, and he is concerned because what will happen if his doctor tells him he has to quit smoking.
He starts vaping, obviously.
Not really because he enjoys smoking, but because this is literally the only reason you will get to see this woman. And of course, he cannot actually talk to her and say, hey, can we hang out or whatever. If he has to stop smoking, then he will never see this woman again. So they frame this as this like big dramatic thing where, if only he can keep smoking.
See, this is the show that is actually the smoking propaganda.
Yes, Chainsmoker Cat is not smoking propaganda. This is the smoking propaganda.
Yes.
If you smoke cigarettes, you'll get to flirt with a hot lady who also smokes cigarettes.
I mean, that is what every single piece of media I have ever seen has told me.
So yeah, there's that, and I didn't like the final bit. They have like a flashback in the final episode where they try to do the thing where oh, actually, she met this guy before, like years ago.
Oh, they're
and
childhood friends.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but they're still adults.
Oh,
But
boy.
it's like, he scared off this like angry customer or something for her. But the twist is she doesn't realize it was him.
Sure.
Like,
Okay.
we didn't
I
we
guess
didn't need this.
Nah, it's a little.
Yeah. So I fortunately I don't think it's ever going to come up again, because it was just like they framed it as just like a one-off memory she was thinking of. It does imply though that that's why she started smoking, is because she saw this guy smoking.
Oh no, that's no. Well,
So like,
you know
again, this is the smoking propaganda show.
we got a couple of shows this season about young impressionable people seeing an older person smoke,
An older
or-
person they admire smoking, or
and
other.
decide to get into the habit. Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
wait for the Sayonara Lara smoking arc.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
Jill, you tell me, because I've only watched 3 episodes. So they just introduced the manager lady, Goto, I believe, and
Yes.
of course her gimmick is she vapes instead of
Yes.
smoke. And are you telling me that, like, are they just going to keep introducing more and more like employees of this supermarket, and they're all going to
Have a
smoke
different
in a
smoking
slightly
method?
different way? Like the next person is going to be menthols, and then
No.
the person after that is cigars.
So far, no, there hasn't been any other
Okay.
smoking characters.
Well, you're telling me they're not going to do the gimmick of they're going to have the, like,
Smoking Avengers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, they're not going to do the gimmick of the young / lolly-coated girl who is an adult woman who smokes out of a pipe.
Yes, I was going to say a pipe, right? Yeah, like
There's
an
my
old man.
twin-tail tsundere who smokes exclusively out of bongs.
I
No,
think-
that's
that's gonna be-
Neko. We'll get there
we'll
later.
get to that. Yeah, but no, they have not done that. I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay.
It-
We're
yeah.
not
He's
we're
not
not
gonna collect-
introducing a
It's like a
rotating
harem
cast.
of different shapes and sized women who have
Who all
different
smoke.
smoking methods.
The only way
No.
this tobacco enters my body is through my nostrils.
Yeah, that would be a very different show. But yes, I did. The thought crossed my mind when the boss showed up, right? But so far, nobody else has shown up. So yeah, that show's good. I'm done with it for now. I haven't been paying attention to where the broadcast is, so I don't know if there'll be more episodes by the time we have another podcast episode. But we'll see. If not, we'll take a break until they come back. All right. Let's move on and talk about The World is Dancing. This is what I wanted to check out. Just did not have time yet. But G, you're still watching it?
Yeah, and Aqua is as well, right?
Yes, so I'm
Okay,
on
good.
it.
So-
Can I ask you guys something?
Sure.
While they're dancing, do they smoke?
I mean, they're burning incense,
Yeah.
Close enough.
I mean, that
I'm
lady
done.
voiced by Miyuki Sawashiro is on something. That's
Well, but I guess she did. She was smoking, I think, in one of those
Yeah.
episodes, right? But yes, yeah. So the show could kind of, like, I think after its initial kind of like very strong first impression, it is sort of settled into something more of a routine. And not a bad thing necessarily, right? But the story has now sort of transitioned into Oniyasha sort of embracing his craft, right, after having been inspired and trying to take it more seriously. And it's a bit of a training arc. I would not say it goes like full sports or shonen training arc, but it's more about him coming to terms with embracing his craft, right? And an aspect of that they frame it through is the embrace of his father's art, right? At least they're the way they're introduced initially. Oniyasha has a prickly relationship with his dad, who is, to be fair, a pretty prickly person, but and that does not necessarily change, right? But it's more Oniyasha begins to understand like what drives his father as an artist, as a craftsman, and as a performer. And
right, because his father is not portrayed as like this very like conservative, like, oh, you have to do everything according to the traditions, because he is also like regarded as an innovator within his craft.
Right, like despite being portrayed as like a very severe, strict person in the context of like medieval Japanese society, he is a bit of a trailblazer, right? Like their style of dancing, sarugaku, he says, is like basically invented or codified by Oniyasha's father, right?
Yes.
And there's this aspect of what they're trying to explain here, and probably this is how we eventually get to how historically the Oniyasha character eventually goes on to create the art of no theater, is kind of they frame it through like the framing device of his father, basically explaining that like an art never stops changing, right? That the moment an art codifies, a moment an art calcifies, it has kind of ceased to be art, right? And so, part of the journey is understanding that mastery is impossible because mastery implies finality. And yeah, I think it's a very classic message to put in a piece of art about making art. I don't know. I continue to be quite charmed by this show. I think it looks great. I would say in this season, like it is maybe not my premier art about making art show, but like it does continue to charm and impress, I think.
See,
I don't know. What about you, Aqua?
Yeah, what I found interesting about the most recent episode, because this is the episode that like formally introduces the Shogun, who I'm assuming is going to be like the deuteragonist of this show, right? And the show is
a real, also a real guy.
Yes. So what I find interesting is that up until now, the show has sort of taken the artistry or the, to put it in Oniyasha's words, the goodness of the Sarugaku performances for granted. And it's very interesting that you get like the Shogun character who basically admits to Oniyasha, was like, yeah, I just said that it was good because that's what I'm expected to do, as the Shogun, the person people look to be the arbiter of good taste. But I don't get it. And I think that's a very strong sort of statement to make, or a bold statement to make in a show that is about a very traditional, very highly regarded, historically significant form of art, right? A show that does not simply assumes from the audience to be like, well, this is, what Oniyasha and his father are doing is important because it is historically significant. Through the character of the Shogun, they're also, at least it appears to me, that they're going to try and sort of explain, okay, why is it significant? What makes this art? What makes this important? And how is Oniyasha going to use that in his relationship with the Shogun to sort of express himself artistically, which I found to be a very interesting or at least a perspective that generally doesn't really show up in shows like these, like a Akane Banashi or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. I actually do like that slight twist on the format, right? That, yeah, like a lot of these arts, right? Like a lot of these often like legacy arts, right? Not just in Japan, like Rakugoka or no theater, but even in the West, right? Think something like opera, right?
Yeah.
What actually makes it good, right? Like we all know these are important, culturally like relevant and arts that are supposed to be sophisticated and important, but how do you actually communicate that to people, right? Like, because if an art is only appreciable by, its highest, most ardent followers, then it's not is it a successful art? I do think that is a good point. And I wonder that's kind of sort of be Oniyasha's journey towards, the eventual creation of no theater.
It's kind of like when you're watching an older movie from like the 20s or 30s, that the style of acting that was considered to be the prime, quote unquote, realistic way of conveying emotions may nowadays come across as sort of mannered. I think I would be very interested in seeing how The World is Dancing addresses that kind of contradiction, maybe, or at least how like the show is about innovating in art, but the result will probably be something that still feels very dated by modern standards.
Right.
Yeah. So that is something what sort of interests me from a historical or sort of like aesthetic or like art history point of view. Aside from that, though, what makes this show just stand out compared to so many other is that so many of these anime that are tried to be biographical, that try to be about a traditional art, are just incredibly po-faced, whereas this show is just like fun and charming. Like Oniyasha is such a fun character. Like obviously he's like a cute little guy, but he also has his bratty moments. He has his hopelessly naive moments. But you want to root for him nevertheless. And even the characters who are supposed to be antagonistic, like his father, or like the kid who punches him in the face in episode 3 because he's acting spoiled, still have like sympathetic motives, right? They still get the time to shine and to truly develop as characters. The show seems to be aware that you need to have this kind of sort of creative and aesthetic liberty if you want to tell a story about a relatively like heavy, even though this is about like art and expression, it is still a subject with a certain amount of weight associated with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they get bits where you're like, they just do the meme of like, boy, I sure hope no one ever tells this pure innocent cinnamon roll about sex. And then Oniyasha just gets up and yells at the Shonen, "Yeah, you're the sex guy." And
Right.
I mean, it's a pretty good show.
All right. Well, that's
shout out to the vocal performances. Lots of Oniyasha honorary boy to be entered in the pantheon of funny anime girl noises.
Well, that's good to hear. It sounds like it's maintaining the level of quality.
It is really like, because this is not necessarily the kind of show that I tend to enjoy, right? So I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Well, G, I'm assuming you were referring to the next show as the show about the art about making art.
Yes.
So we're talking about Draw This Then Die. Another
Speaking
one
of pure innocent cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
Well,
how has this one been going?
Yeah, so I have continued to enjoy this quite a bit, right? So the where the story's kind of gone, since the revelation that Ai's teacher is her favorite mangaka, is she decides she wants to, along with her friend, like found a manga club, right? And the last episode has basically just been about the formation of the club and sort of the creation of their first like proper like manuscript and one shot. And and sort of like this juxtaposed against Ray, I think is the teacher's name, her own sort of like deeply like complicated feelings with art, right?
Yeah,
as a result of her own very like tumultuous journey with
right,
it,
as well as her sort of like complicated relationship with, on one hand, trying to motivate these girls to pursue their dreams, but on the other hand, wanting to protect them from the disappointment that she faced.
Yeah,
right?
it's
They've
like
kind
weirdly,
of,
go ahead.
I was just going to say they've kind of set it up as a kind of like two parallel narratives, which is the present day girls setting up their manga club, and in the past, we get a sort of flashback to Ray, sort of trying to get into the industry that goes parallel in chronological order, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I think obviously like this, I'm always going to be a sucker for this shit, right? As an artist who's had his own rather tumultuous career in many regards, like Ray's like backstory really like it works, right? Like it really gets into like, because it gets into, like, look, I know that I and her friends are going to be the like aspirational, hopeful version of like why it's valuable to do art, right? Like because and they're gonna do the thing of like, well, you see, they do it for love, right? Or they do it because they enjoy it. And that's not to say Ray did not also enjoy it, right? But I think Ray and her backstory kind of get into like, because if you've known me for a long time, you probably know I complain about doing art a lot. Like I'm like, God, I gotta fucking draw this fucking piece of shit, and it's like, and I've had people ask like, if you complain about it so much, like, why do you keep doing it? Like, why don't you stop? And it's a complicated answer, right? Like, like the best I could give for me is I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Right.
Like I'm not always happy when I do art. In fact, I am often deeply unhappy when I do art. But also there is this drive in me, a little bit like Ray, of like, I have something in me I need to express to the world, and no one else could do it to the same, like, or no one could do it adequately to the degree that I need it done, right? Like, and that is not to say that the art I do is like purely unique and unlike anybody else's, but the version of it that I want to show to the world could only be done by me.
Right.
And there's this sense that if I don't do it, nobody will, right? And so even if it makes me miserable sometimes, like, it is my task to bear, right? And I kind of appreciate that approach of like, no, these people love art just as much as the people who smile while they draw, but like, it is a different relationship, and it definitely leads to a different mindset.
I mean,
when
it is
go into it.
Yeah, I mean, like without meaning to downplay your experience, but I think this is just one of the core tenets of being an adult, right? Sometimes that something that you are very passionate about sort of becomes a kind of routine, but you still cannot imagine yourself doing anything else because it's such a core part of your identity, right?
Absolutely.
And I think this sort of mature perspective is what sets this show apart from other like cute girls doing their best and achieving their dreams.
Right.
You get the other side of the medal that is like honest without being cynical, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. I really. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would argue that like one of the things about being without wishing to be shitty about it, but like one of the things about being a truly dedicated artist, be that a draw. a drawer. What is there to say?
One who draws.
Yes,
No, I
but,
get you.
a musician,
Right,
a
of
sculptor,
course.
whatever, is that sometimes you have to do the thing when you do not feel like doing the thing.
Yes.
It is important. I think a mark of dedication is that sometimes you just have to power through, and you may not be inspired, you may not be putting out what you think is good
Right.
work, but the drive must still be there. You must still have the impulse, and you must have the professionalism to drive yourself to do it even when you don't feel like it.
It doesn't work out, yeah. And I think like, I wonder if like that will eventually come into play, because right now the girls are, they got moxie, they got gumption, right? They're fueled by the honeymoon experience of doing a thing for the first time, right?
I must admit that like I was a little worried when it turned out that this show was going to be another show about girls who form a club and gambaret their way to the top, but it does appear to be dodging some of the common pitfalls thus far.
Because there are at least like already paying lip service to the idea that I has this sort of inferiority complex, right? That everyone is praising Kokoro's art, but no one ever praises the writing.
I actually really appreciate that episode. Even as someone who is not much of a writer and mostly an artist, I actually really did empathize a ton with I in the latest episode, where they're basically tasked with writing their first like short like one shot, right? It's like a 4-page thing, right? Start small, get a feel for it, right? And the other girl, Kokoro, who they recruit, who is from the art club, who is I wouldn't even mention, she like like the storyline with her like being inspired by Ai's like shitty manga is like really good, right? Because it's like it does remind you, right, that like somebody is your biggest fan. Like somebody is, right? Like no matter like how bad your work is or how little reach it gets, like somebody is your biggest fan, and that is
wants to see the power of God triumph.
Exactly, right? And it's like I mean, even the manga that they're all a big fan of, right? Roboto and Pokota, right? Is, as we joked last episode, is a shitty Doraemon like ripoff, right? Well, I apparently won honorable mention at the manga award according to the flashback, so it wasn't that bad. But
I mean, I must for clarification, Robota and Pokota actually exists.
Right. You did
doujin the author wrote like before Draw This Then died.
No, I need to read that. While
humbly inserting my own shitty doujinshi as the greatest manga of all time.
I would do that too. To be clear, if I could do that, I would totally be like, that's exactly what I do as well. I respect it. But yeah. Anyways, and so that's how they get their third member, the illustrator, right? And I really did enjoy these episodes where they kind of get into like Kokoro is a already fairly talented artist, right? She has been in the art club for a number of years, right? Like you know, we're not going to call her like a genius or whatever. The simple reality is she has simply done this for many more years than I has started writing, right? And so her art naturally has kind of a head start on Ai's writing, and so it is and also manga is a visual medium, so of course people are going to talk about the art, and I like that they kind of get into that with like Ai and the fact that, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? She is capable of feeling resentment and jealousy, right? She is capable of feeling bad about her work, right? Like, because it's like one thing to do things, because like it's one thing to. Often you see this with amateurs who they try to protect themselves by being like, you know, or you know, like you know, in fighting games, for example, the old adage, "I don't even play this game." Right? It's the you create distance between you and the thing you're doing to protect yourself, right? Because like, oh well, you know, I'm not actually trying that hard, right? Yes. And I had that ability at first, right? She was like, well, you know, I'm just doing this for fun, and it's my first time, and whatever. I'm just doing bullshit, right? But the next step is okay, but now you care, right?
I mean, there's also the thing that, like, this is her story, right? Like, this is about her passion for manga, and she wanted to create the manga club, and she's the one who dragged Sensei back into the game. So I think there's that whole, like, main character syndrome factor to it as well.
And I think there's, like, a good, relatively healthy, like, you know, resolution of it, right? Like, it's, you know... This is very true of many manga duos that are writer and artist, right? Is like there is discussion, right? There is dialogue between the two, right? Like, and it often goes both ways, right? Like sometimes the writer actually, you know, does some of the designs or figures out some of the basic art stuff, or conversely, the artist comes up with, you know, certain plot beats, right? And so, you know,
I mean, it's not even just in manga. I mean, the basis of the famous Marvel method from the 60s
of course,
was that the artists were intimately involved in the storytelling aspect.
Right. And I continue to be really impressed with this show. Like, despite the fact that, like, tonally it is much... like even more lighthearted than World is Dancing, which is also a fairly lighthearted show, but you know nobody's died yet.
It is almost bubblegum
die, but there is still like a really appreciable degree of pathos to it, and it makes like it kind of makes the poppy bubblegum aspects of Draw This Then Die feel like a bit of a salve, right? It's like, all right, we spent an episode in the look back dimension with Ray. So,
I mean, it also helps that this show is just really funny. Like,
it is. It actually is. Yeah.
The bit where they're like talking on the beach, and Akafuku is like, "I'm going to get some stuff from my dad's shop," and then they talk for a bit more, and the dad comes closer in every shot.
Yeah. Oh, the fucking just the rubber hose animation, just when he fucking grabs her head and it squishes like Gumby. It's so good.
Shout out to my girl Akafuku, who wins by doing literally nothing.
Also, I want to shout out the crew for painstakingly drawing basically all of the shitty manga and then putting it on screen in like horrible biro pen glory. It's really good. I really like it.
It's a lot of fun, and you know, we'll see what's the deal with the new girl who sure makes a first impression here.
I mean, I love this, right? Get a girl who is evil.
Not just evil, but like a little maybe messed up. I mean, look, I'll tell you what. Okay, hypothetical. Which artist, writer, creator, musician do you like look up to so much that upon meeting them for the first time, you full on kiss them on the mouth?
I'm not sure I like anyone that much.
Look. Well, that's
Ricky Kawahara.
You don't like anybody as much as Hikaru likes Rei Hoshino Sensei.
I have the power to make dragons out of clouds, yet I will use it to cause problems on purpose.
Yes, but yeah, great show. Continue to be really impressed by it.
Very fun.
Also, says something that the only good manga that they were able to draw was Cat Yuri. Cat Yuri saves the world.
That's true. Right, that is true. The actual manga they end up writing. Yeah.
Look, man, everybody knows if you want to get into comics in any form, you've got to start with funny animal stuff. That's just the rule.
Yeah. I feel like I'm being set up for transition to our next show. But
this too is cat theory.
I don't know how gay these cats are. I gotta be honest.
They don't have
Speaking
time.
of incredibly funny good times.
Yeah, well. All right. Let's talk about Chainsmoker Cat. G, the show is still good, right?
Interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the sense that I'm continuing to watch it.
That's no evidence. You've continued to watch a lot of very bad shows.
Yes. Okay. Look,
I think episode 3 might have been the worst episode, but episode 4 had some stuff going on. I think.
I mean, episode 4
had
also
some things happening.
Also, episode 4 definitely feels like a little worrisome because it kind of feels like the production is maybe falling apart a little bit with episode 4. Like,
Look, I've seen GIFs with a banana. Which one was the one with the banana?
That actually was episode 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So episode 3, a lot of fart jokes.
A lot of fart jokes.
Like a good half of the episode. Not a fan. We do meet the alcoholic cat girl.
Yeah, man, that is so look, I think it was much easier for me to laugh at some of the other like substance abuses in this show because like there was like, you know, haha, look at this cat, she smokes so much, and then they got to haha, this
that cat, she's shooting heroin.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, that's like kind of distant from me. And then haha, look at that cat, she's drinking all the time, and I was like, to be clear, I do not drink all the time, but drinking is a thing I do recreationally. And so I have seen people who have like been this far gone, and it's always like deeply sad and uncomfortable.
Yeah. I feel like we're joking about G before having a different girl show up with a different smoking thing. In this, I guess it's just a different a
different vice,
a different addiction to some kind of substance.
Yeah. No, it's pretty fucked, man. Like you know, like when the big joke of her segment is she falls unconscious while drinking and starts choking on her own vomit, and the joke is like her roommate is like, "You silly goof, you know you're supposed to lie in the recovery position when you drink." And tips her over to the side.
Then you can vomit and not choke.
Exactly.
And
it's interesting because I'm not saying that there are no anime black comedies, but it's a genre that is a little rarer in anime, and and it's interesting to see such a prominent one in the current season. You know, like, would you say that's an accurate description? Is this a black comedy, or is it more kind of?
I think so. Like, I definitely think like it definitely still has its more like lighthearted quote unquote moments, but like a lot of the humor is explicitly based off of you like laughing at their abject suffering and the downward spirals these cats are all sort of like inevitably caught up in. It is kind of darkly funny in a weird way that they also introduce. I don't know if she has a like Yani Neko portmanteau. Her name is Karuko. She is the Kanzai cat.
They just call her Kanzai.
Kanzai,
yeah.
You know,
that's just like one step away from calling her Osaka. Like,
well, so the bit here is that she's from Kanzai and is seemingly the most well-adjusted of them all. Like, I think she smokes, but she is not like addicted. She is not like on anything harder than that. No, her great moral failing, she is deeply unfunny.
Ooh. That might actually be worse than being addicted to drugs.
And that's kind of the joke they make, is that, like, yeah, Yani Neko is like a complete dirtbag and hopelessly addicted to nicotine, but she's a more fun hang than you, Kanzai.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got your life together, but like also your personality is such a black hole that this is the caliber of people you have to hang out with because
yeah.
I think it might also be like a wry commentary on the fact that like people from Osaka, people from the Kansai region are always stereotyped as like comedic goofs, right?
Right, and that's the thing. So I mean, yes, the bit is she's trying to live up to the stereotype, because she's out here in Edo, she's out here in Tokyo, in Kanto, she's got to be the funny Kansai character, and all her jokes suck. I mean, to be fair, to be fair to her, one of her jokes is a Twin Peaks reference, which did get me. So
Yeah.
But
it's Japan. There has to be at least one Twin Peaks reference in all media.
yes, but then in the latest episode, yes, we're introduced to probably the most evil, most despicable of the characters in Chainsmoker Cat, and turns out it's man, or mankind, I should say, because we're introduced to Saori, who is a female mangaka, but. She's not. And you're like, oh, okay, like cool. What she worked on? She published anywhere? But yeah, she's published. What, like Shonen Jump, like Weekly Jump, like what? No, she's published in one of those more independent publications. Yeah. She's a hentai artist. She's a pornographic doujinshi artist, and her whole gimmick is basically just using blackmail and bribery to coerce the other cat girls into extremely uncomfortable sexual situations so that she can, as she says, take pictures of them for reference.
A classic.
Yeah. This
It's
is
okay though because she's a woman.
An unfunny anime
totally
classic.
fine. Yeah.
And it's just coincidence that the audience happens to be able to enjoy this performance
and
as well.
she's clearly like getting off to it, right?
Yeah. So that is the backstory to the banana picture.
Yeah, this is weird stuff that happens in episode 4. Yeah, that's where the banana scene comes from. Because we also get Yanni Neko's weird connection to the manga Yakuza.
Oh yeah, so the Yakuza, yes, organized crime, yes,
who end up being the manga publisher or something like that.
Yes.
True.
Which I don't know. That's
true to reality.
Making a joke about their publication, but
and I think now's a good time to just bring up something we haven't talked about is like the whole like cat girl beast folk depression thing going on.
Yeah, there is
like it's not, I wouldn't say it's subtle, but they don't like openly talk about it, but then just stuff happens that you're like, oh, that's weird.
There are constantly just like lines and bits of this show in the background that constantly imply that like cat girls, or as they're known colloquially, beast folk, are second-class citizens in this world.
Perhaps that is contributing to the current state of
of the cat girl community, right? Like, it's one of those things of like, how could you expect like the cat girl community cannot pull themselves up by their bootstraps when the structural conditions of the society they live in constantly discriminate against them. Like, no, that's actually kind of the subtext of the show.
The subtext of the show is.
Are you saying Ronald Reagan funneled crack cocaine into the cat girl community in the 80s? Yeah,
right. Like they constantly talk about how those girls are from like, what's their neighborhood called, like Nyamigahara or something,
right? Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that fucking dog shit ghetto, like where all the fucking like layabout cat girls live. These good for nothing beastkin. Like,
there's a lot of really loaded language used around them that is like,
right? Like there's constant talk of like, oh well, only. There are part-time jobs that only beast folk work, and I think the implication is that they get paid less than human temp workers. Yeah. In the latest episode, when the mangaka takes Yanni Neko into, a public bathroom to role play, a
scene in her manga.
A scene in her manga. Maybe we won't get into the details of it. Just you can use your own imagination of what's going on in a public restroom in a pornographic context. And the police show up, and they specifically say, "We've arrested a cat girl and her owner."
Yeah.
So, and then you think about now the context of Yanineko's little sister, right, who is the proper prim cat girl. It's like, oh no, is she a
model minority?
Yeah, no, is she an Uncle Tom? Like,
Yeah.
is that actually unironically where they are going with this? Because she's constantly, like, the joke is she's ashamed of her sister, and maybe this might even go as far as she is ashamed of being a cat girl, right?
Yeah.
Her friends are human girls, right? She doesn't hang out with other cat girls. Like,
Yeah.
So this show is a show about addiction and racism instead
Yes.
of like being a comedy about smoking cats.
It's about smoking cats, but there's a layer of racism and addiction underneath it, which is
Right.
fueling the black
like,
humor.
to be clear, the biggest joke in the latest episode is Yanineko is smoking a cigarette by the river and sees a young boy drowning in the river. And she's like, oh shit, that kid is drowning, but
I just lit the
I
cigarette.
just lit this cigarette. It's full.
I can't put. I got to at least get a couple of drags off it first.
Right. Like, come on. Like, you get it, right? You get it, right, kid? Like, I just lit this thing.
Yeah. So, but the reason why the black humor works I think is because it has that undercurrent of
Yeah.
real issues that make it kind of, it's funny but also kind of sad, which you need for the black humor to work, right?
Yes, definitely.
And they definitely work that in there a lot. Particularly in episode 4, I think it comes up a lot. But
Sounds like it's quite a tightrope to walk, though.
yeah, and I don't know if it's always pulling it off, but
That is the thing. Like, I think this show is like, I would not, maybe not go as far as hit or miss, but it has a pretty wide batting range, and
yeah.
This is definitely not like a Kaguya-sama or something where it's like really hitting, every joke is hitting constantly, right? Like, I would say there are definitely some like stinkers or even just jokes in this show that I like kind of just like, there's like, they talk about they introduce these Yakuza characters, and like the whole thing is like they're introduced as like, stereotypically really scary Yakuza gangsters, but then they reveal that the reason why they go so easy on Yanineko is because the patriarch is like super horny for Yanineko, and like they do this joke of like, he has a comically huge boner when he gets aroused.
I'm sorry, I
And-
laughed pretty hard at that.
No, it's good. It's funny, but like it's also like extremely crass, right?
It's
like,
so crass.
they do this thing of like they're playing mahjong at a table, and like Yanineko like bends over in her loose fitting shirt, and you can see her cleavage, and like the side of the table the patriarch is sitting as that tips up, right, from
He just
from
knocks the table up with
the
his massive
size and
erection.
hardness of his
Yes.
erection, and
Did
it's just like,
Gona Guy right there?
right,
It's so stupid.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend I didn't laugh.
I need to grow up. Yes.
Yeah, but also it's like, God, this is what this show is, right? Like, as much as like, oh yeah, this show also maybe has some things to say about marginalized communities, it's also dick and fart jokes, all right? Like, let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah. No, they have some the jokes that really land are some things that I've probably laughed harder at than anything in a long time.
True.
But yes, but then other ones are, oh, she farted in the dude's face and he passed out. That literally happens.
Yes.
But like I liked with her sisters like trying to deny Yanineko's existence. She's like, oh no, my sister was turned into a hamburger, which is a joke I don't have time to explain the whole context of, but
You had to be there.
yeah, there are a couple jokes in there that I think were really funny.
Yeah.
But it is kind of up and down.
It is definitely a show that I think like is definitely like there's some comedies that are easy to recommend to everybody. I think Yanineko, you definitely kind of have to have a particular sensibility and tolerance
level for certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I have complex feelings about it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there are aspects of it I enjoy and I think are really well done, and then there are other things I'm like, really, do we need to do that? I don't know. It's an interesting show to watch for sure, one way or the other.
Oh yeah.
So, all right.
Nuance, as we would say.
Well, in a way.
Well, speaking of nuance, I have a question for you. If a dying child wanted to smoke a cigarette,
Well, they're
Would you
already
let it?
dying, so
yeah,
what harm could it possibly do?
Yeah.
but it's illegal for children to smoke, Zig.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And here I thought you were going to segue,
look,
into the worst addiction of all.
Look, I come from Essex in the UK, okay? Every child here smokes.
Yeah.
No, every child there vapes.
Yeah. Well, we did in Chainsmoker Cat. We did get the brief appearance by Hame Neko again too. Speaking of
yes.
the worst addictions,
the worst addiction possible.
But yes, we were talking about fighting games, which means we were looking at young ladies don't play fighting games. You guys are still watching this, right? How's that been going?
I don't know.
Not a ringing endorsement.
No, I think it's just like this is kind of like what I think when many people think of, like, we were just talking about, Draw This Then Die, right? Of like the slice of life show about girls ganbare to the top, right? This show is kind of like what people are thinking of, right? Like where it's like there's not that much substance beyond just the gimmick of the subject matter. And the subject matter is a good gimmick, to be fair, right? Like fighting games is pretty out there compared to starting a band or a manga club. But that is the gimmick, right?
Yeah.
This show should just be like 50% more intense. This show should treat fighting games like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes. I think there is some fun to be had in just like how deeply relatable a lot of the fighting game based humor is in this show, right? Like there's just a lot of like, I think just, and this thing I do appreciate about the specificity of the subject matter, right? And I think it does show that like the writer of the original manga was clearly somebody who loved fighting games and had a lot of feelings about them and the FGC, because I think a lot of the jokes are, quite specific, right? Like, in one of the episodes, one of the characters does a fucking running shoryuken in neutral, right? And the other character is like, are you an animal? Like,
why would you do such a thing?
Like, are you even human? And it's like, okay, you know what? Like, only someone who has grinded ranked lobbies against, random plat ranked Ryus could.
A man chooses, a slave plays Ryu.
Yes, right. It's yeah. So I think some of the jokes actually do hit quite well, but I think it's like the girls' academy stuff is like so vestigial. It's like I kind of just need them to like jettison it as quickly as possible because it just doesn't matter.
I wish they would pick a line. You know, like
this is why everybody should watch Rock as a Lady's Modesty, because that's exactly what they did. They ditched they ditched the academy stuff like after episode 2, basically, right?
Also, like I'm really tired of everybody is pointing out that we must be gay in universe, so it's all right to just do the blatant queer baiting stuff because you see we're acknowledging it. And
this is a dog playing chess. This show,
and I think I've also come to the conclusion that this show would be much funnier if they were using a fake fighting game and not real Street Fighter.
Yes, this is kind of what I've been getting at with this show, right?
Because the switches to like just straight up Street Fighter footage are so jarring to look at.
I think for me, the thing that continues to get me is how like it's just the footage, right? Again, there's no like attempt at like facade, right? Like even just showing it picture in picture, right? Like imagine if like the shot was like of a monitor in universe, but no, it's they cut straight to direct like feed footage of SF6, right?
Except that it's at 24 frames a second, so it looks like garbage.
Also, they keep playing with the same like with vanilla costumes on the fucking Ryu temple stage, and it's like,
yeah, you guys mentioned that last time.
We recorded all this footage in a single afternoon.
I think that is what it is. Yeah. I did look up some backstory, and apparently a lot of the footage was recorded by Japanese Street Fighter pro Sako, who is famous for being a real combo monster.
Isn't Sako one of the 5 gods?
God, is he one? I always forget.
I think so.
So it's cool to get someone like that recording the footage, but then I'm also like, oh, they clearly told him to like keep it basic, right? Because these characters are just, look, to be clear, I am no SF pro, right? But I've watched a lot of SF pros, and I've seen the fucked up shit they are doing, and these girls are, well,
I mean, they're not supposed to be pros.
Yeah, I think that makes it more interesting that they play like actual, like, well, I wouldn't call it casual players.
they're also
ordinary
still pretty
players.
high level players.
Well,
Yeah.
I think for me is actually the thing that's actually kind of bothers me more, and this is why I think I agree with you, Zig, that using Street Fighter specifically was a mistake. They play very clean, right? They play very by the books, and it's like when if you've played against a real human being, right? So like, I don't know if we'll have time. The beta's going to end soon, Zig, but like Ira and I were playing some of the Tokon beta like yesterday, and like, you know, it's messy as hell, right? We're learning a new fighting game, right? There's a lot of just like, you know, I had this great moment where I finally nailed my B&B and was going to like, you know, end it with like, because I had meter for my super, and I, you know, my whole game plan was, you know, it's a tag fighter, right? So super, tag into super, tag into super to close it out. Super whiffs. I drop the super. Like I hit the super, but I time it too late. Whiffs. Arrow brings it back to, you know, the brink of death. We're down to one hit each, and I just barely eke out a win, right? And suddenly my like cool guy finish the combo moment turns into a really messy scramble where we're both like spamming fireballs and just throwing out random assists, hoping to just catch the other person sleeping, right? And it's
now
like,
repeat after me: light punch, light punch, light punch.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, that's fighting games, right? Especially with other people of varying skill levels, right? It's messy. It's like things don't go according to plan.
The other thing is, because you're using real footage, you can't do fun stuff like pause the action and annotate over it, or zoom in, or like do imagine spots where the characters put themselves into their characters or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, you lose a lot of artistic flexibility.
Right. It's like, you know, so they introduced these two new characters who are like the door monitors of their grade, and of course the twist is they also play fighting games, right? And
one of them is Human Scum because they play Ken,
and the other is a scrub, right? Like just straight up, right? Like just not very good.
I think calling her a scrub is perhaps a
okay, that's true. Okay, I mean, I do like the joke. Again, it's like I think there's certain bits here that work for me, right? Where it's like she's not even like a scrub, more as she is just someone who is clearly traumatized by like playing exclusively in ranked online,
mentally fragile,
right? Which is like, look, who amongst us like, you know, they should just pass a law that like bans fighting game players from owning firearms, because like what fighting game player after a long ranked session is not maybe considering putting a barrel in their mouth, right? Like just it's like, and so that's kind of the bit, right? And it's like, okay, but like, why does this girl play Ryu? Other than, she's kind of a scumbag. It's like, is that it? I don't think Ryu...
Ken, right?
Or Ken, right? But it's like, I don't think Ken even has that reputation in like the Japanese FGC, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not part of that community.
And then the other girl, she plays Juri, and this kind of tracks. I think I recall in the manga, she also plays like that type of, broadly that archetype of character. And it's like,
I mean, that just tells me that she's super horny.
Yes. But that's the thing. It's like, what does that say about her character, right? Like, you know, and I think they can't say much, right? Because they probably want to keep it nice and clean, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, the girl calls the Ryu player an animal, but she doesn't call Ryu himself a subhuman animal, right? And there's almost a little bit of that like disconnect, right? Of, because this is corporate, this is sponsored by Capcom.
We can't say anything bad about the characters, right?
Right. We can't go too hard on the game itself, right? I mean, like, you have pro play, like, I mean, Punk just famously went on another famous Punk rant about how much he hates Street Fighter 6, you know? And it's like,
well,
you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that in the corporate sponsored product.
I mean, also, like, we get some weirdly technical stuff about how, like, Juri is a rushdown character, and so you shouldn't even be playing defense, and she's vulnerable to zoning. And to be clear, I love hearing that stuff because it is very technical information of the game, but it doesn't really have a place in what's meant to be kind of like a goofy character-based narrative.
Right.
You know, I think the show wants to demonstrate its bona fides by, like, putting in a lot of highly technical stuff.
Right. It wants to prove it can walk the walk, right? Talk the talk.
But at the same time, that stuff is not terribly entertaining, even if you do understand what they're going on about. So it's...
I mean, that is just kind of what most of these shows are. Like, that is also that is almost as important to pander to otaku than having a bunch of cute girls is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a and, you know, different shows balance it differently, right? But it sounds like to me this show, you'd be missing a huge portion of the entertainment value if you don't know anything about fighting games.
Yeah, they flash up, like, whenever they use specific terms or stuff, they flash up glossary meanings, but like, nothing makes a joke funnier than having to have it explained.
Right.
afterwards.
Like, in some ways, it does make the show feel kind of exclusionary, right? Like, in the sense that you kind of have to already be in on the joke to even get the joke, to like enjoy the joke.
Right, and it's sort of like a self-defeating prophecy, because if you're in on the joke, then all of these jokes will seem incredibly basic, right? Because they're things that people have been saying for thousands and thousands of hours.
And that is the thing. I have seen, like, there's a couple, like, not very prominent, there's a couple, like, indie comics or other works that are about fighting game players, right? Like, they're not about fighting games, they're about people who play fighting games. And I think it's like the FGC, like, the FGC is like a famous like gaming community for a lot of reasons, right? Like the lore, the humor, right? The particular tone and tenor of the FGC is unlike almost any other gaming
sometimes
community
for
out
better,
there.
sometimes
for worse, right? And I think there's actually like a really rich vein of material to mine there, right? But I think probably like the best version of that would probably have to be something that is not directly connected to a fighting game, like a real fighting game.
Also, like, I think in shows like this, there is a great deal of enjoyment that comes from working out the specific things they are parodying in their shoddy knockoffs, right? It's fun
like,
to look at this thing and see, this is this is very obviously meant to be, I don't know, this guy from World Heroes 2.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like,
right, like, again, the thing I point out is like,
I want to see what fake Ryu looks like.
Yeah, right, because the Cammy player, the main character, like, who plays Cammy in the fighting in the anime. In the manga, it's implied she is playing like Taukaka from Blaze Blue, and like that's such a like weirder off-kilter pick than Cammy Street Fighter.
And also, like, the fact that this is sponsored by Capcom basically means we're not going to have like fun cameos from other games. Like, there is not going to be a degenerate Melty Blood player showing
right.
There is not going to be Asuka 120% special burning fest in this show or anything like that. Exactly. And I think like that really shuts down the kind of dudes
I think
that could appear. Right.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do all of your character storytelling within the 25 odd characters that are on the Street Fighter 6.
Like what? Like you like, is the show going to introduce fake Sonic Fox and then have them play Street Fighter? Like,
I mean, like, I suspect it's always going to stick to like
I know to the Japanese players. Yes.
Personality.
Though I will say the manga does have a character who looks suspiciously just a lot like actual Punk. Like, it's just straight up Punk, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well,
but the thing is, like, it's still kind of entertaining. I'm still having a good time.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad show.
It's just a little basic.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who is not deeply embedded in fighting games would have the opposite problem for the fighting game parts. Like, I think the non-fighting game parts are just basic. It's very by the numbers.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, more even than most of these types of show, I think it depends on whether you enjoy the fighting game stuff. And I do, but with qualifications, as we've just discussed.
Yeah.
I think probably the main proving ground for this show will probably be, like, it's not really a spoiler, but eventually they go to like fake Evo Japan, which, God, in this show might actually just be Evo Japan.
The Evo Japan logo is in the opening credits.
Okay, so they are actually just going to go to straight up actual Evo Japan. Yep. And I think that'll be the proving ground for a number of reasons, because I think a tournament, like an actual like local, will probably like have more potential for interesting dynamics. But as you said, I think it is also going to be somewhat restricted because A, it's going to be Evo Japan, so they can't shit talk it too much, but also B, it's sponsored by Capcom, and so you're not going to see DB fighters or Melty Blood in Evo Japan as portrayed in this anime.
You're not even going to see like fake Justin Wong show up to play MVC2, are you?
Right.
They're going to exclusively concentrate on games released in the last 5 years or so.
Like, if you're lucky, there'll be like a 10-second cameo of like a like Street Fighter 3 like Third Strike side tournament, in a passing scene.
They have to have fucking fake Evo moment 37 and it's somewhere. Right?
Sure, yeah.
But you're not going to get like some dudes playing Dong Dong Never Die on the side stage or something.
Right. You're not going to have the characters complain about how awful the air conditioning is at the Evo Japan venue.
Yeah. Then there's not going to be the characters talking about how Saudi Arabia is.
Right. Yeah.
on that note, all right. I mean, you guys are still watching it though.
Yeah,
right?
I
we
will
are.
continue.
We are.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of repressive royal regimes,
Okay, well, let's move on. We've got our three big shows at the end here, right? So
yeah,
let's talk about Goodbye, Lara.
yes, sayonara, Lara.
Has someone seen my stupid fish? If you find this stupid fish, please return to Mari at the boxing club.
Okay, so here is my theory about sayonara, Lara. Okay, Kinema Citrus gathered together their like staff and said, we want to make an anniversary anime, what should we do? And 50% of them were like, we should make like this beautiful, heartfelt fairy tale, beautifully animated, deeply moving, about love, about the difficulty of rejection. And the other half was like, let's make a fucking boxing anime.
Hell yeah.
And then
I don't know. There was also the one guy who was like, let's make an anime about the dumbest motherfucker on the planet.
No, that
guy
fairy,
won.
That's fairy tales.
Well, I think for me, my main takeaway from these last couple episodes is, damn, this dog is pretty good at chess.
Yeah. So for explanation, last time, G, you said you weren't going to fall for the bait with our two main girls here. You weren't going to take the queer baiting and likened it to not losing to a dog at chess.
Yes.
And yes, this dog is pretty good at chess.
Yeah.
That dog mated you in 4 moves.
Now, to be clear, I am not fully giving my heart to this show in that regard. I am still reserving fear that this show could still have a heteronormative last-minute swerve.
There's definitely still room for that, particularly after episode 4, I think. But certainly not in episode 3, though. But episode 3 is where we do get the boxing, as we mentioned. So we get a little more insight into Mari's what she's doing, her background. We learn about in the context of her preparing for this boxing match or whatever. We learn about what happened.
It's like
a
local tournament or something, right?
Yeah.
And she's beefing with her senpai at the club.
She's beefing with her senpai, and they take it out. The coach has them take it out on the ring, right? And,
which doesn't seem like a great plan, considering this meet is like a week away, and you're going to put your 2 best fighters.
They got headgear on. It's fine.
Headgear on. It's fine. Yeah,
also, like high school coaches, not known to be the best at managing people
the point is,
in a professional fashion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I watched this episode, and after it, I said this is probably the best episode of anime that I've seen all year, and I think I stand by that.
I certainly think for me this is the best show going at the moment. But I think one of the things I really appreciate that shines through in these, and really all the episodes, but I like that they find the balance of making Lara naive to all the new things that are happening without making her too annoying, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. She's also not portrayed as stupid, just unilluminated, right?
Well, because I mean, obviously, the last thing she saw in the human world was 1777, right? So it's gonna take a little bit of time to figure out what's
and now she's discovered Netflix.
I really, really like the joke where they try and sign her up for a supermarket card.
Yes.
That is so good. It's like she just runs away.
I keep thinking about the thing where people say if you gave a Dorito to somebody in medieval times and explode or something like that.
Also, it confirms what we always knew, which is Amazon Alexa is evil.
Right. Orders 1,000 cakes through Alexa.
But that's that kind of fish out of water stuff is fun because how were you supposed to understand the concept of a rewards card at the supermarket in if your last context was from the 18th century, right?
Yeah.
But I think making that charming and not annoying is a hard thing to do, and I think they kind of pull that off really good. And I don't know, I just love this type of directing where there's a lot of
it's very naturalistic, right?
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of great cuts. They do they make extensive use of the comedy Gilligan cut.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like I think like you're saying, you know, it's very natural. There's a lot of I like when there's a lot of space to breathe, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, quiet moments, but
And-
also when it's time to really crank things up, like the boxing match. It looks amazing, right?
And I think they do the really difficult job of like making this a goofy comedy episode that also has real pathos to it. Like the humor is always present, but it doesn't undermine kind of like the strong emotional stuff. Like Lara is at the same time a figure of fun, but also quite tragic, and that's really a difficult balance to pull off, honestly.
Right. And it's during this match we find out about, you know, what happened to Mari's mother and everything too, right? Like there's a, you know, sort of a tragic undercurrent to it all, but
which they don't really like. I appreciate that they do not have to have her come out and say it. You know, I'm not saying the flashbacks are subtle or anything, but they do use their visual storytelling as opposed to so many animes where we would get someone look into the camera and go, you know, have you heard about
mother
my
is
tragic
dead
backstory?
Yeah. It always comes back to our show don't tell storytelling, right? But
it is interesting that, like, you know, they constantly like emphasize this fact that yes, like Mari is a distinctly like standoffish person, right? Like even on a good day, right? Like she is just kind of naturally aloof. And yeah, I think like, and I don't think they're necessarily implying that, oh, that's purely because of her backstory, right? Because even as a kid, when her mom's still alive, right, she is still kind of
she gets into boxing because she was punching her
classmates. It just turned out to become a good outlet for her, like, you know, her desires to inflict violence upon others. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the boxing match really impressive. I'll just say, you know, as somebody who, you know, watches more of that type of stuff, like, really well choreographed, very naturalistic. Like, you know, probably most other, you know, when we think of the prominent boxing works in Japanese media, we think of Ashita no Joe, we think of Hajime no Ippo, which are often very like dudes trading haymakers school of boxing choreography. I mean, and this is very
also animated in a different age with different resources.
Of course, but this has a very naturalistic flow to it, which I really liked. But yeah, I think it creates a very interesting contrast with, you know, with Lara, right, where I think, you know, and we see this especially with the latest episode, which I liked quite a bit. You know, I think I agree with you guys. 3 is definitely the standout episode of the show so far, but I rather liked 4 as well. Just kind of like showing that, you know, Lara is doing the thing of like, yes, she's naive, and yes, she's like sheltered to the modern world, but also that gives her an insight into things that, you know, maybe modern people cannot have, right? Like with, you know, she gets dragged to school again, right, and. Actually, shout out to the bit with her accompanying Mari's kind of dirtbag adjacent brother, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Very good. Like, look, I gotta respect the hustle here. Where, like, you know, like where, like, okay, so he's clearly not like trying to like hit on Lara or like try to like seduce her, right? It's not like that.
No,
but he is doing the thing that I think a lot of dudes do, which is like. Hit up the girls you know in school, be like, hey, I got this cute girl. Could you tell her who the like hottest, most popular guy in school is? And I don't mind if you say it's me.
I mean, he is not actively like trying to mac on her or anything, but like he is flexing in the way that a teenage boy would probably flex when
they all kind of no sell him. They fucking pull out their phones and like oh yeah, my prince is a VTuber or you know whatever.
Yeah, his bits were very good.
Yeah, but yeah, it kind of leads to that situation with the new girl, right? What's Himeka, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, and. You know, and her friend OG, right? So literally prince and princess, right? And yeah, it kind of gets into, I think, some more nuanced stuff about like fate and relationships, right? About how it does not always work out, or sometimes you miss your chance, right? You miss your shot, right? And
yeah. I mean, that seems to be an abiding, like an overarching theme that they're trying to set up here. You know, the idea that there are paths beyond what destiny seems to be setting up for you, right? Because
go ahead.
The original Little Mermaid story is very much about how about true love conquers all, and you're destined to be with the one you love and stuff like that. And I wouldn't necessarily call this a deconstruction, at least not yet, because it's a bit too gentle for that. But definitely, they are trying to pick away at the edges of the very pat storytelling of the original, right, and kind of deepen and widen it to make it more realistic and more relatable to a more modern audience, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking at, romance doesn't work the way that and love does not work the way it works in fairy tales, right? And which is a thing you can do when you're literally making a sequel to a fairy tale, right? But yeah, I mean, really, what they're saying is, Lara didn't work out with a prince because you're gay and you're in love with this cool boxer girl. But yeah, episode 4, it was also very good in kind of continuing those themes, and I was kind of wary of where they're going with the whole prince thing and everything, but I don't think they strayed very far from the what we were seeing in the previous episodes in 4 either. But I think it was an interesting thing, like G were saying, kind of giving her her innocence and sort of naivete, giving her perspective where it's like, okay, well, they meet the prince and the princess, so to speak, and they're like, Lara clocks right away. It's like, why don't you just tell him how you feel, right? Like, what are you waiting for? It should be, it should be like, and it should be obvious, but we get so caught up in our way of looking things, I guess. But yeah, just really enjoyed both these episodes. 3 was the standout, but both of them I think were really good.
Yeah, I mean,
shout outs to Lara being like a sap for the most basic ass Netflix rom-com.
Yes.
Like shit, right?
Yeah.
Like just
I do enjoy a good fake ass anime. Like,
I mean, the bit where she like gets locked in the boxing room and Mari is like, no TV for you if you come out.
Yeah,
right. Oh man, yeah.
The show's just really good at pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And like
that
it's hard to complain about that.
I don't really have any significant criticism of it, right?
No, I think my only not even concern, but probably just the thing I'm going to be paying attention to, right, is in the latest episode they've Lara's sister, one of her sisters, sort of formally enters the plot, right?
Yes.
And it seems the situation is ambiguous, right? Like, is Lara's sister going to be an antagonist, just a narrative obstacle? But there is some implication here that
right
there may be some form of conflict in the near future, as a result of Lara's sister also being about and seems to have her own agenda.
Yeah, she seems to want Lara to succeed, but why is she being all mysterious and standing?
And I mean, if the reveal is that oh, what if does Lara fall in love with Mari, but then Lara's sister's like, no, that's not how the prophecy works. It has to be a prince, right?
Is her sister homophobic?
Is her sister homophobic?
I mean, she does have her pet Shota following her around,
right? There are open questions. So there's that. Is her sister? I think they're framing her as an antagonist, even though on paper it looks like she's her sister who just wants to help her. I feel like they're almost flipping it where she's going to kind of be more the antagonist, and the witch who is currently a goldfish is actually helping.
She's giving me Ikuhara show mysterious overlooker vibes.
And there's some, I don't know if I want to spoil it, but there's some things she says at the very end, post credits in episode 4, that had me kind of raised an eyebrow for me of where we're going with this. And there's magic stuff happening, right? So there's the big when at the end of episode, is at the end of episode 3 when Lara's heart goes doki doki and she sees the Kira Kira.
Yes.
And then,
I mean,
and then
there's
an
also the
obelisk
weird-
forms in the sky.
Yeah, and like we don't really like they kind of mentioned it for a second in episode 4. We don't talk about it at all. Like,
Yeah, I was like, wait, are people not paying attention to the obelisk
can they not
that is just
see it?
hanging in
That's
the
just like a
sky
thing
now?
came out of the water.
They're more Slifer, the executive producer guys, honestly.
I mean, is the like? I think the implication is that only Lara can see it.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I suspect it is deliberately ambiguous, right?
So is there magic stuff going on? I mean, there is
Well,
magic
yes, there
stuff going
is.
on, but how is that going to, impact the direction of the show going forward? Because I mean, I don't, it's not something I necessarily want it to stay as this, fun, more lighthearted, Lara, learns about things in the modern world type of show. I would like to have some more plot injected to it, but also that can be a bit of a gamble sometimes, right?
It feels like a show with something to say and some substance, right? I think the question is, can they maintain its charm while sort of getting some more story into it, really?
Right. And I mean, so far, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt for now, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. So let's move on to talk about Jaadugar, Witch in Mongolia. We have more time has passed in
Quite a bit of time, honestly.
quite a bit of time. How old is Fatima supposed to be at this point?
She's supposed to be like in her 20s now.
She's gotta be
Yes,
like in her 20s or
early
something.
20s, I think, by this point, yes.
I do want to point out that the art style is throwing me a little bit with how
it makes it a little hard to tell, yeah.
how young everybody looks, because
Yeah.
we see Ogadai, who I think is supposed to be like in his mid-30s or something, and he looks
yes,
like
definitely an adult.
he looks like he's 14 or something. But
I mean, that was also a problem in the Heike story, right, where Biwa looked pretty much the same at 8 as she did.
yeah, but at least
like,
like the rest of
20-something.
the rest of the cast looked
aged, yes.
appropriately aged, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the art style, really. But yeah,
I continue to really enjoy this show. This is probably one of the highlights of this season for me, I think. I think the last few episodes have been, just in some ways we are culminating in quote unquote the real Jaadugar starts here, right? Like, because these episodes are sort of her spending more time in the Mongol Empire, right? Getting accustomed to the way it works and operates, and her internal struggle of like trying to hold on to her feelings of like rage and resentment towards the people who like ruined her life, and becoming a member of the court of one Sorgatani Beki, primary wife of Tolui Khan, who is I think, as I explained, got it last time, one of the most powerful women in the Middle Ages, I would probably say, like in terms of her long-standing effects on this time period, and very weird to see her portrayed as the like cat-faced moe girl. Very like it's taken me out sometimes. I'm seeing people do like moe fan art of Sorgatani Beki, and it's like,
look, man, big Mau Mau's influence is everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, y'all know what this lady did? Like, all right, whatever, man, it's fine.
I mean,
no,
look, they made a literal show about like Nazi Germany being Moe. Come on,
sure. But anyways, yeah, it's I continue to really enjoy the very nuanced and authentic feeling portrayal of this time period and the cultures of this era, and kind of getting into like, like Fatima, of course, has her biases and her cultural, preconceptions, as do the Mongols, right? And how those sort of inform the way their societies operate. And I think, like, not without it, like, an overly judgmental lens, right? Like, the show never really lets you forget that the Mongols were quite brutal to their enemies, but also here in the heartland, right? You see the, like, softer side of their society. You see, like, what civilian life is like, right? You see, like Sorgatani Beki, right, is like, despite the fact that, like, again, she's the one who now has Fatima's book, right? The original Fatima's book that now new Fatima is trying to get. And it's not really, she's not really portrayed with like malice, which I think is interesting, right? Like, the worst you can throw at her is the sort of willful, willful ignorance of the human cost of getting that book, but like she herself is broadly portrayed as, inoffensive as far as nobility goes, and in fact kind of has, as the real Sokatani Becky did, a rather cosmopolitan view of like the world. And then, we get into, of course, the Mongol succession, because in the years that passed since the conquering of the Khwarezmian Empire, Genghis Khan dies shortly after. And we get the succession between Genghis's 4 sons, primary sons, I should add, of course. Sons born through his, lawful wife, and not the, bastard children he probably sired millions of through other means. And the succession of Genghis Khan's succession is always like actually one of like my favorite like stories in history, because it is like deeply human, like the ways in which these brothers inevitably fractured as a result of the succession, right? Like,
I mean, it's also very interesting simply because it is so different from how succession usually happens in Western monarchies.
Yeah,
right?
I think that is definitely the fun bit, right? Like, so as they kind of explain the show, Mongols at the time practice ultimogeniture, which is that the youngest son inherits the estate of the father. The logic being that the older sons had a head start on conquering their own lands, basically. And so,
but critically, the estate, not the title. Like,
yes. It's very right, because instead they have a kurultai, which is when all the Mongol Khans sort of congregate and vote on the actual like successor,
and nothing can possibly go wrong with that.
No, and the story of the succession is like really interesting and sad and fascinating, right? Like it's because I think a lot of people compare it to like the fracturing of Alexander the Great's empire, right? Where similar story of a great general conquers huge swaths of land, topples numerous empires, and then it all kind of like falls apart shortly after. And in Alexander's case, that's because like of his rather premature death and like no like obvious heir, right? Whereas with Genghis Khan, he had 4 sons who were all quite promising heirs in their own right. And sort of the tragedy of it is only one of them could really inherit it. Aqua, as you so pointed out before we started recording, well, by the time we get here in the show, there's only 3 brothers left.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened to the other one? The TLDR, Joki, was the eldest of the sons. His story's a bit sad. He was born under extremely contentious circumstances. Genghis Khan's wife at the time was kidnapped by a rival tribe and basically gave birth to Joki like about 9 months after that kidnapping. And so that it has always been held in contention. Genghis, for his part, always acknowledged Joki as one of his sons, but this was always a point of contention, including even amongst their brothers. So Joki's position was always a little precarious, which I think is maybe what led to some of his actions during the Khwarezmian invasion. Basically, he has a falling out with his brothers and his father during the invasion over, basically loot and territory that he felt he was rightfully owed. Basically, not exiled officially, but basically sort of, goes AWOL essentially, and then passes away a few years later under mysterious circumstances. Records say he died of an illness, but, royals dropping dead after having a fight, it's who can say, right?
And having a potentially legitimate claim to a big empire,
yes.
He wandered
mysteriously dying.
He wandered off somewhere and became a really annoying boss battle.
Yes. Which leaves the remaining 3, Chagatai, Joki, and Tolui, right? Tolui is the youngest, and I do like this, like, quote-unquote twist, right, if you don't know the history, right? Because he inherits the estate and is the one managing the Mongol Empire as regent until they reveal to you in the twist that actually it is Ogedei Khan who succeeds Genghis as the next great Khan.
And Tolui is definitely not bad.
No, Tolui's totally cool with it, definitely cool with it, not mad at all. this is kind of where, like, again, I do not want this show or need this show to be, like, quote unquote historically accurate, right? Like, that has never been, I think, because here's the thing: if you want an accurate telling of, like, the Mongol succession, like, watch a documentary, read a book, right? But this starts to get into some weird stuff here, where the portrayal of Tolui as, like, seemingly totally cool with losing succession, and then the hint is that Sorgatani Beki is the one who is, like, maneuvering in the shadows, right? Is a little. It's certainly a choice, I think, but yes, Ogade is the one who gets picked. Ogade Khan, third of the four sons. The way accounts describe Ogade Khan is that basically, no matter how all the other brothers felt about each other, all the other brothers agreed Ogade was their favorite brother. Ogade Khan functionally wins the succession like conflict through the, like, Mario Party gif of Luigi standing still.
Right. Everyone voted him number one, but their top fours were completely different otherwise.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's basically what happened. Is everybody's like, man, you know, Chagatai and Joki hated each other. Tolui, I know, had some beef with Joki, but everyone's like, but you know what, Ogade, you're cool. You know? So. And, you know, it is true that I think in Genghis Khan's, like, written record, he did say that, like, Ogade was the son he believed would be the best suited as a peacetime ruler. Joki, Chagatai, and Tolui were more renowned as warlords and generals, whereas Ogade was sort of more known as being an administrator and diplomat of the four. So that is, I think, sort of the reasoning.
And that's also sort of how they depict him in the show, right? Tolui is like the hot-blooded one, and Ogade is more like, he's the eyes always closed guy. He's the, like, just chilling, yeah? Like,
which I think is an interesting way to set him up, right? Because then we finally approach kind of the latest episode here, where Sorgatani initially sends Fatima out to be a spy, right? She wants Fatima to spy on the other brothers. Initially Chagatai, to maneuver his, you know, watch his movements and, like, relay to her if the other brothers may be moving, you know, who knows? Whatever happens could happen, right? But through a lot of happenstances, ends up meeting Torgene Khatun, who is another extremely important Mongol queen and sixth wife of Ogade Khan. And I think we're getting into, like, some interesting setup here, right? Because Ogade, of course, is portrayed as the chill one, but to be clear, he is and was the chill one of the Mongol Empire.
Yeah, we're grading on a curve here, pretty severe one.
Like, basically, like, you know, I'll try to keep it short. Basically, Joki fell out of favor because he failed to capture a city quickly. They sort of allude to that in the episode where the brothers are introduced. The implication being that because that city was promised to him after the war, he did not want to do the usual rape, loot, and pillage and burn it to the ground thing that the Mongols did to every other city.
Because then I'd have to build it back up.
Right, because then you have to rebuild it, and that's a pain in the ass. So he wanted to leave it intact, but that significantly slowed down the siege, which really pissed off his dad, who then sent in Chagatai. And Joki and Chagatai then had a operational dispute between the two. Chain of command got very confused. And so then Yango's like, all right, well, now I'm sending in the third brother. Ogade, go deal with this. And Ogade got sent in. And you might think I'm telling you, and then Ogade smoothed things out. No, Ogade did the thing all Khans did, which is he conquered the city the expedient way. And we'll leave it at that. So to be clear, not gentle, right? But he is portrayed as softer than the others. But why I bring this up is because Torgene clearly possesses a lot of resentment for Ogade, right? Like, this is how she's initially introduced, right? As someone who deeply resents her position as Mongol queen. We see the implication, of course, is that, you know, this is not something she consented to, right? And I know the history, and so I have my feelings about this plot point, but I'm very curious how the show is going to kind of approach this stuff, right? Like the portrayal of Torgene and sort of the kindred spirit she finds with Fatima and their sort of shared resentment of the what the Mongol Empire has wrought upon these two.
Which is what they're sort of setting up for next episode.
Yeah, I think for me, the kind of, in terms of the plot, what's interesting is, like, what is Fatima going to accomplish, if anything, right? Because I'm assuming history is not going to change. So, like, what is her role in this? all because again, we keep comparing to Heika's story for obvious reasons, but like Fatima is in theory an active player in this, right? At least for the moment. So like, what is she actually going to do?
Okay, this is a real Galaxy Brain thing. I'm going to groan so hard if this happens.
Okay.
So in one of these episodes, she finds a Bezor, right?
Yes.
Which is like a sort of naturally formed, like stone-like substance found inside of animals sometimes. And through multiple cultures have sort of ascribed mystical properties to Bezors, right? And in Mongol culture specifically, they say that a witch or a shaman can summon a great storm using the Bezor.
Oh, is she going to become
Is this
a
show
witch?
going to end with her dropping this stone in the ocean as Kublai Khan's ships are sailing for Japan? Like, are we going this far in the history, right? Like, is the last 5 minutes of the last episode going to do the hard cut to 20 years later?
Does the timeline line up?
I mean, we have seen Kublai Khan already.
I mean,
yes, we did. Yes, a little bit of MCU foreshadowing.
Could be alive at that point, right?
Theoretically, right?
And it is called The Witch in Mongolia.
Yes, and so, like, are we going to do the thing of, like, Fatima just, like, survives through multiple, like, Mongolian successions?
And she's the one that destroys the...
Right, and are we going to... I would groan so hard. I would actually hate this. Like, I think I would actually really dislike that plot development. That, like, oh, you see, her mystical powers changed history forever.
I mean,
but,
also,
like,
because it wouldn't even be a victory, right? Because, like, sure, she stops, like, Kublai Khan from invading Japan, but he still, like, achieves many other things, especially in China. Like,
he became emperor of China.
Yeah,
yes,
so
so but I think it's like this is the thing that's so fun but also precarious about historical fiction, right? Is that historical fiction can choose to take real events and like twist and kind of turn the contextualization of them in ways that like better suit a narrative, right? And so again, I hope this does not happen, but like the thought entered my head immediately when like they point out that like, oh, in Mongolian culture, a Bezor can summon a storm. I was like, oh god, like please don't.
I think the manga's still ongoing, right? So
I believe it is.
That would be a manga ending event, I would think. So maybe
right.
there's. I don't like that you spoke that into existence. Jim.
No, I really don't like that I did either. But like, I am like bracing myself for like they're gonna like show at the end of the whole anime a like fake tapestry of the Mongol Empire, and then they're gonna like slowly zoom in on the corner of the tapestry, and like Fatima's gonna be there shaking her hands, going or something, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, there's also
I'm
like
fairly certain that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like the main like internal conflict of this is her like holding on to her hatred and desire for revenge, right? And I feel like for better or worse, that's probably gonna get smoothed out.
Either that or I feel like I'm curious if they're going to frame that as like ultimately a tragic thing. Right?
It's gonna be a like, oh, I didn't get my revenge because I obviously didn't murder any Khan, but I score a moral victory by like saving a friend or something.
Or
it could be,
or that it's revenge is not worth it, or I don't know.
I don't think they're going to go full Vinland Saga with this. I actually don't.
Yeah, the context is very different than Vinland Saga. I wouldn't want them to necessarily go that way because she does have legitimate like reason to be,
Okay, to be clear, Thorfinn also had legitimate grievances.
I mean, but it's different because
killed his dad.
I mean, the difference is that Vinland Saga like stars a character who is capable of bodily murdering his enemies, right?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. And Thorfinn goes through a process where he does a lot of bad things in the meantime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely curious if like they will get into that with Fatima in this story, right? Because like being a woman in this time period specifically, right, sort of preclude her from like necessarily like massacring an army or whatever. But I do wonder if there's going to be some like aspect of like working through her rage, right, in this place, right? And like again, I do not think she's going to ever forgive the Mongol Empire, but I do wonder if a sort of like precarious understanding of the world she's now a part of, like will be a development in the story.
Yeah.
I mean,
finally, oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just to say, like Fatima, existing historical character. who is remembered by history. So I'm assuming she's going to do something significant. Like,
yeah, I think it's like these are figures who like did not have, you know, just the tragic reality of written history is that they don't tend to write about women much, right?
Mhm.
So you have these, but that kind of could work in this show's favor, where you have these gaps where, like, yes, we know that this character did X, Y, and Z, but like because we don't know anything other than that, you
Yeah.
can sort of fill in.
she is mentioned as having been here in this year, like
Right,
offhandishly. Yeah.
Yes. But yes, my last shout out is shout outs to Ogday's Big Cup. You may have noticed during the coronation, Tolui hands Ogaday a giant ass cup. It's like a freaking 7-Eleven like big gulp. And I just have to shout this out. My one fun historical anecdote about the four brothers is Ogaday was the chill one to hang out with. That might be because Ogaday was an alcoholic. Ogaday loved to drink. They allude to this a little bit in the show.
Yeah.
To the point where Chagatai, the second brother, was very concerned about his brother's health. He was like, "Bro, you drink too much." Like you, and I think
if you have a drinking problem in the Middle Ages, you have a drinking problem.
you have a drinking problem, right? And so, story goes that one of Chagatai's stipulations for Ogate becoming Great Khan was that he had to promise to cut down on his drinking. And Chagatai was like, "You have to promise me you're going to restrict yourself to only like 3 cups of alcohol a day." And supposedly, the way Chagatai got around this loophole is by having a custom-made giant-ass cup. So,
just make the cup bigger, right?
Yep. So I think that is what that moment is. It's just a little allusion to, because I don't think that conversation will actually happen in the show. But when I saw Ogday's big-ass cup, I was like, oh, okay, that's...
I have heard that story before, but I didn't catch that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's his iconic big gulp.
Also shout out to Ogadai's third wife, Kyrgyzstani, or whatever her name is, who is voiced by Haruko Harahara for some fucking reason.
Man, shout outs to her. You know, always happy to see Mayumi Shintani somewhere getting work in anime. You know, I saw that little gremlin creature run out, and then as soon as she opened her mouth, I was like, you know what? Thank you. This is the perfect voice for her. Perfect. God.
All right. Well, I think there are some questions on that show, but also a very strong,
for sure,
strong show this season. All right, let's end it with The Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 more episodes. Kind of continuing the. I mean. I don't know what everyone wants. It looks cool. It's very cool.
It looks great. You know, we are adapting the arc known as the Puppet Master arc of Ghost in the Shell here.
Yeah. So all right.
I mean,
I want to bring up some concerns I have, because
okay,
the episode 3, I was like, I didn't really like episode 3 that much.
Is that the horny one, or that's episode 2?
No, 3 or sorry, 2. There's 2 and 3. Sorry,
yes.
Episode 2. Yeah, the horny part I didn't mind.
But yeah, it's just all the like extremely dense and boring techno babble that comes after.
Yeah, there was so much like, and I kind of felt that way in episode.
Even techno babble during the horny bits.
Yeah, I felt like even during I felt that way kind of in episode 1, but it felt even worse in episode 2 to me. And like when you have to put more techno babble and writing on top of the screen while you're explaining, your whatever. It's got this part, but we can get around it because we have the whatever. And what do you mean that model's 20 years? Like, okay, so there was a lot of that, which I didn't care for. I'm like, we gotta. I need something else here, because yes, it's very cool and stylish and everything, but I was like, what are we doing? Episode 4, I think, was a lot more fun, just because there was a lot of action. The beginning of episode. Sorry,
oh my God!
I keep saying 4. Episode 3.
Yeah.
The beginning of episode 3 is amazing. Like,
oh my God, it's
very impressive.
It's so good. Like look, we can get into the criticisms, but I just want to say that, like, I think the opening of episode, like, so I was a little, like, I was always going to be a little on edge about this, like, couple of episodes because they are portraying,
literally the plot of the Oshii movie, like.
Well, okay, and here's the thing where I got to explain to you, Aqua. The Oshii movie is adapting the plot of the manga.
Well,
right?
yes,
like
that plot line the same thing, right? That's what I meant.
Right?
Yeah,
the same material, right? Which is the chase with the garbage men leading to Motsuko's confrontation with the assassin, right? And then the eventual twist reveal of the garbage man, right? Like, this is like, I don't want to spoil it because, like, if you have somehow not seen Oshii's, like, Ghost in the Shell yet, this is, like, to me, the moment in that movie. Like, the garbage man scene in the movie is like, that is Oshii's Ghost in the Shell, right? Like, that is Ghost in the Shell at its core to me, right? Is that reveal. So I don't want to get into it, but it's a pivotal moment, right? It is like one of the most, like, cyberpunk-ass things ever, right? And I was curious how they were going to handle it in the Science Saru anime, right? Because obviously we're going for a different tone, but I think there was probably some tacit understanding that, look, no matter what, especially now that they're getting into the Puppet Master arc, this anime will always be compared to the Oshii film, for better or worse, right?
I mean, the thing is, like, the big draw here was that it is adapting the manga more faithfully, but the truth is the manga has not been the defining interpretation of Ghost in the Shell
it's been Oshii's
years.
film.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing, right?
This is the thing I actually like to point out, is that this is why I always argue that Oshii's first Ghost in the Shell film is actually a remarkably faithful adaptation of the manga. What it changes is tone and presentation.
Right,
and that's the thing,
things
right?
that happen, sure.
Right.
And I get the feeling that is the actual X factor that made the movie the superior version of the cult manga.
Sure, I'm not going to use the word superior. Now, I have my preferences, to be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw that grenade in the room. But yes, I totally get what you're saying. It is definitely the more iconic, more enduring, like, form of Ghost in the Shell. And so I think Science Saru kind of had an uphill battle here. And I think the opening of episode 3 feels to me like a very, like, creative statement of intent, right? Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it our own way. And come hell or high water, we are going to blow your socks off, right? Visually, right? Like, we may not have a movie budget, but, like, we will find a way to impress you. And the first, like, 5 minutes of, like, episode 3 is, like, to me personally, on a stylistic level, I think that is that is, like, one of my favorite sequences I've seen in anime. Like, a little bit. Like, just
not since City have we seen a crazy animated sequence and like that.
It's so cool, man.
City also at 3 ties on the difficulty of existence. So
yeah. But yes, shout out to all still at it. Bahi JD still at it, man. You know, of episode 1 of Space Dandy fame, I believe he did I forget if it was the animation director or storyboarder for that sequence, but really, really impressive. But yeah, I guess if we want to transition to, like, some of your guys' concern, I think I do kind of echo them, or I see where they're coming from, because
yeah. So I think to expand a little bit, it's not even so much the you know, what I'm just broadly referring to as the techno babble, but also I feel like I came into something and I'm expected to already know some things.
Yep.
And there's no introduction to the characters from what I remember, or what they're doing.
None. No, you're just expected to know these people.
Yeah, you know, I get that these are, you know, iconic characters that, you know, a lot of people are familiar with. My experience with Ghost in the Shell, I watched the movie in, like, probably 1995.
God damn.
I have not seen it since, and I have not watched any other Ghost in the Shell. So I don't really remember much about the movie other than some, like, cool visual stuff. But like, so because that was literally 30 years ago now, right? But yeah, I feel like I'm missing a big chunk of something. Like I feel like I'm starting season 2 of an anime.
I think it's particularly bad in this instance because you are expected to be familiar with them from a medium where they are almost entirely different characters, right? I think that, you know, the major Togusa Bato in the in the Oshi movie are, again, they do the same things, but their characterization through voice acting, through cinematography is very different from what we see here.
And I'm sure people have read the manga too, but like,
I think it even goes further than that. I think this series also like sort of presupposes an intimate familiarity with like cyberpunk tropes in general. Like, when the Major says, "I'm going to dive," you're just expected to know what that is. Not necessarily because of familiarity with the Ghost in the Shell franchise, but just because,
it's a very cyberpunk
diving is a thing in cyberpunk. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the number one thing that's bugging me. And I guess I can't 100% fault. Like, I don't necessarily, I can see why you wouldn't want to necessarily just do the full start everything from scratch, but you kind of need something. So, and they really are kind of just throwing you right in, right?
So the thing I will say, and this is not to necessarily defend the decision, I will say that for better or worse, I don't think any entry or portrayal or adaptation of Ghost in the Shell has ever done a like, let's introduce the cast setup, like not even the manga.
There's a little bit in Standalone Complex.
That's a tiny bit. There is a tiny bit, and I think there is. I wonder if some of this comes from the tradition of like Ghost in the Shell is clearly like based off of like police procedural, and there is a little bit of that like these. Well, not only that, but also like cyberpunk fiction or like speculative sci-fi of like this world is sort of meant to just wash over you, and it is only through repeated exposures that you gain familiarity. And to be clear, I'm not going to say that is a defensible or good approach to storytelling, but like here's the thing: when I watched the original Ghost of the Shell, I didn't know who any of those characters were, and
to be clear,
by the end of the movie, I'm not sure I still knew who any of those characters were the first time I watched it.
To be clear, they do not introduce anybody in that movie either.
Right.
No, but it's a question of presentation, because it's a thing of like, I very recently watched the original movie, right? I watched it last week with Zig.
Yeah,
I got the feeling of like, these characters are introduced. Yes, they are introduced in medias res. They don't get a proper introduction, but they are let into the story more organically, right? You start off with the Major. She's clearly the main character. Then we have Bato. He's clearly like the second guy. And then there's Togusa, who's the new guy. And no one else kind of matters. Whereas in the first episode of this new anime, they sort of just inundated you with, here's all these guys, and they're the team, and they know each other really well. And it sort of like plays into my bigger issue with this version of the story, because it's apparently so accurate to the original show that they're even like to the original manga, that they're even like lifting dialogue wholesale. It's just a matter of like turning the dial. Everything I like about the Oshi film is also in this version, and everything I dislike in this version is also in the Oshi film. It's just a matter of proportion, right? And I got the feeling Oshi struck gold when he decided, you know what, I'm going to tone down the like the like the 80s pulpiness of it all just a little bit. The pulpiness where like the Major is a hot babe who's a lesbian and shoots guys without remorse and spouts libertarian philosophy. And like she's like a frigging like 80s bad girl comic book character, right?
Yes, totally. Like completely so.
And dials up the philosophy a little bit, which is also here in this show. But on the other hand, you also have like, I don't know, weird stuff. Like, I like the Tachikoma revolution bit. It's great, but then it turns out that the Mayor is like, yeah, these stupid robots, you gotta give them the illusion of revolution. So shut the fuck up, Ayn Rand. Like,
I mean, this is the thing, right? Yeah. I think you're not wrong to say that, like, yes, each Ghost in the Shell adaptation is basically turning different like knobs and dials to create a slightly different formula. And I think, probably my answer to this as like a very long-term fan of Ghost in the Shell is like, I don't think you're wrong to like have the feelings you do about the Science Saru's approach to it, which is very indicative of the manga's approach to it, because like here's the thing: there's no way around it. Masamune Shiro is a yapper.
Yeah.
Like that dude fucking yaps for like if you read the manga, like dude, there are like fucking like there are manifestos on pages of his manga, right? About like his like about technological speculation about where technology is going, how it will integrate into government and society. Like, there are whole pages of the Ghost in the Shell manga that are literally just the major talking for like paragraphs.
And I think what Oshii worked out is that less is more, right? Because I think that by eliminating huge swaths of that, he made the central important ideas come out more effectively. I would also like just kind of to tack on to the stuff we were talking about in the characterization. The lack of characterization in the Oshii movie matters less because the characters are clearly platonic ideals, right? They are they are more representations of concepts and philosophies than they are necessarily characters. That's fine, but because this adaptation is a bit more red-blooded, for want of a better term, it does mean that you feel that lack of characterization a little bit more.
They are kind of caricatures, right? Like that is a thing, right?
And
like,
that's not necessarily a bad thing, but
they're just kind of assholes. Like,
yeah, I mean, they're cops. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And here's the thing, and that's not to say, oh, they're shitty on purpose. I mean, kind of, but like. I guess the reason I have the perspective I do, right, is I have had many, many years of cool, confident Motoko Kusanagi, right? Yeah. And so for me, and to be clear, that has not always been good, right? The Netflix Ghost in the Shell is an abomination. Even if it does...
Is that the Standalone Complex sequel?
Yes, that's Standalone Complex 2045.
Right. Or prequel, I can't remember.
It is a sequel.
It's terrible.
It's technically. It's terrible. It's terrible. And, hey, technically that is a cool, confident major in that show.
Yeah.
And so to be clear, that is not instantly a win condition for me, right? No. And I think conversely, seeing, as everybody says, like libertarian gun gremlin Motoko Kusanagi, I think for me, it's like, it's fun. It's a novelty, absolutely, right? It's like, it's neat to see her like this again, right? And it's not going to be here's the thing. I kind of said it in my first look post. I don't foresee a world where, and to be clear, I'm really enjoying this show. I am enjoying it quite a lot, right? I think the technobabble is just, I'm more inured to it. I can keep up a little bit better, and even when I don't,
over you, right?
It just washes over me. Yeah, it's just like, okay, yeah, like technobabble shit is happening, right? And it will lead to a justification narratively or visually, right? But I do think I cannot really sort of foresee a world where this ever becomes my favorite Ghost in the Shell, if that makes sense, right? Like, despite the fact that I'm having such a good time with it, I'm having the thing I kind of got into in my first look is I think I am just appreciating it as a piece of entertainment, right? Like, it is a pulpy action spectacle about, basically caricatures, interacting in what I think is a visually stimulating world. And will it have anything that deep to say about its subject matter? I'm compared to Oshii, at least, I'm not so sure. But also, like, Oshii's film is like not a fun watch. Like Oshii's Ghost in the Shell film is like one of my favorite anime movies of all time, right? I will stand by it. But like, it is not a throw it on with the boys kind of movie, right? I recently did in fact watch that movie and Innocence with the boys. And you know what that experience was like? It was a lot of sitting there in silence.
Yeah. But I mean, I get where you're coming from, but also I still think this version is still too like dense to be just fun. Like you kind of have to pay attention to even know what the hell is going on.
I think that is just part of the identity of the series, of the franchise, for better or worse, I think.
I think I'm kind of in between the two of you here, in that obviously, I have seen the wider universe of Ghost in the Shell for what that's worth, but I appreciate this as a fun. It's like a comic book where like Batman is a vampire or something like that.
It is the Batman Brave and the Bold of the Batman.
I don't mean that as a throwaway. You know, it is fascinating to see an artistically different take on the material, right?
And I think that's cool. And I wish we got more of it. Like that's a thing, right? I think in a world where like Ghost in the Shell was getting such imaginative interpretations like this every, let's just say 5 to 7 years, like. It's really easier to just like accept this for what it is. I mean, as opposed to
I'm not necessarily on the side of we should just recycle one thing.
Oh no, not that.
So what you're saying is that it should be like Gundam. Like there should be a different bold new reinterpretation every 4 years.
Right? Yeah. In this one, Motoko goes to school and is still a lesbian.
I think though that the key difference for me, and again. It's very hard, right? An objective opinion is impossible because, again, to me, the Oshi movie is Ghost in the Shell. It is impossible to extract it. Therefore, it is this that is the deviation, not the other way around.
It's tough. I think
that what the Oshi movie loses in energy and sort of fun, it gains in weight. Right, and that's not just because it's like a slower, darker presentation of the material, but like the core Ghost in the Shell idea of, you know, where do we separate the human and machine, you know, what is consciousness and what is life, is just better expressed in a slower, more thoughtful narrative, right?
And, I think that's very fair.
I think that's my feeling about, you know, this Chainsmoker adaptation. I'm having great fun. It looks amazing. It's really enjoyable, but it is a little disposable, perhaps.
And it pays lip service to those ideas, but it does that in a scene right after the scene where the pervert nurse goes awooga when she makes like a hot new sexy robot body for her girlfriend. Like,
here's the thing, right? Like, I think you guys are totally like on the money about like, you know, how like what you're looking at with the Chainsmoker Ghost in the Shell. I think for me, just at the end of the day, it's like. I just gotta smile and go, yeah, that's Ghost in the Shell, man. Like, and I think it's like, for me, it's like there's almost like, I don't know, there's something
cakes.
Almost.
There are 2 cakes.
There are 2 cakes, right? And there's a little bit of like, I don't know, can a work that is horny not also be philosophical? Like, I mean, you could argue that it gets in the way, but I think that's kind of
I have no problem with that part. No, that's fine.
I think that to me, that's just the fun of it, right? I think it's like, it's like, because it is very like, dude takes a hit of a bong in the 80s, right? Yeah. And it's like, what if like big cyborg titties, but also what if like the machine and the state become one? You know, it's like, man. That's like, hell yeah, brother.
And I think part of the fun of this adaptation and part of the fun of like the universe of Ghost in the Shell adaptation is that like Shiro clearly had so many ideas that he wasn't sure which one to concentrate on, you know, and like Oshi's job was he concentrated on the one he found most compelling, which I think is the one that a lot of us found most compelling. But it's still fun to see this sort of soup of ideas, of concepts, of just kind of like, it's kind of like a mashup of like every 80s cyberpunk trope you could imagine, right? And there's fun in that messiness as well, you know. And
I think so.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that means I'm enjoying it a great deal. But I think there is also a limit on how sort of attached. I don't want to say how profound it can be because, you know, we've had plenty of shows that are goofy that are also deep and like emotional, stuff like that, you know. But I think that this show is not necessarily interested in answering the big questions that Ghost in the Shell poses. And that's fine because we already have that. But to me, it does put a certain cap on like how into it I can get.
Sure.
Yeah. I just want to know what's going on. I just want to follow what's going on. But
there is definitely like a washing over you. Sorry.
I'll give you this, Gel. If you want to know what's going on, just rewatch the Oshi movie.
Yeah, maybe
it really
I
helped
should just
for
rewatch
me.
that because I barely remember.
That is a thing, right? I mean, it's like. I mean, you know, it kind of probably helps that, like, you know, we are all now adults, right? Yes. But it's like, here's the thing. The first time I watched the Oshi film, I was like 14.
Yes.
I barely understood the movie, right? Like, I probably found it a little boring.
There was
right?
like a naked robot lady. She got hit by a car. And...
Yeah, you know, like there's that scene where the Major flexes really hard when she's naked, you know, but it's like, I mean, you know, it's like
truly foundational.
Foundational. I cannot even like exaggerate. But
do you want to talk about like your definitive Ghost in the Shell moment? My definitive Ghost in the Shell moment is where the puppet master speaks for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like, and that's a thing, and I'm very much looking forward to like their portrayal here.
Yeah,
but,
and the thing I will say quickly is that like you know, I would describe myself in the past as kind of like a Ghost in the Shell skeptic, in the sense that I always thought the movie was good. I enjoyed Standalone Complex, but I never thought that it was like the seminal work necessarily that some people viewed it as. And like going back and viewing it with Aqua, I still don't necessarily. I'm not going to say it's my favorite movie ever, but I think I gained a greater appreciation of the things it was doing.
I recall this of you. I remember having these conversations years ago. But yeah, and I think that's like it's a little. It sometimes feels like a cope to say that, right? Like, oh, it gets better with each viewing. But I do actually kind of unironically believe that with Ghost of the Shell, especially Oshi's Ghost of the Shell, because again, just to speed run the rest of it, right? The next time I watched Oshi's Ghost of the Shell, I was in college, and it hit harder, right?
Yeah, like, that's because you were old enough to smoke weed at that point.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so I could also say, yo, bro, what if we combined the state and the machine, you know? But no, seriously, it was just like I could understand the concepts better, and I think I had more patience for this type of movie, right?
Yeah.
And
you know, then I will say as well is that like it was fascinating to go back and watch this movie like only a month or so after having seen Angel's Egg and seeing seeing like how many of those trademarks are shared across those two movies. Because like weirdly, although I've always been a Ghost in the Shell skeptic, I've also always been an Angel Egg defender, which
that is
like weird.
That is a very particular type of Oshi fan. But so I just like long story short, I think I've watched the Oshi film like 4 or 5 times at this point, and every time I do, it's just like I come away more and more impressed, you know, and I would even extend this to like Innocence, right? Like I would call myself an outright Innocence disliker the first time I ever watched it. Like
I think I'm still kind of there, but I'm interested to go back again.
Yeah, I rewatched it again this year, and okay, that movie has a lot of problems.
Yes.
Most of them are Oshi's fault. I will just say straight up. Like we don't have to glaze Oshi that hard. That man has his problems as a director. But
one hand giveth and one hand taketh away, right?
Like, I did walk away from this rewatch going, I think I get it now. Like, I get what he's going for, and I respect and appreciate it, even if my heart doesn't love it, right?
Weirdly enough, I think learning that movie was not originally called Ghost in the Shell 2 made me a little more sympathetic to it.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. But
yeah.
All right. Well, I putting my criticism aside, I am enjoying it just from the sheer spectacle of it. The visuals are amazing. The vibes are impeccable. Yeah. The retro stuff's really getting to me as an old man.
It's really good.
The squash and stretch is the squashiest and stretchiest.
Yeah. I will, and I think I'm going to end every episode saying, Science Saru, make Dominion Tank Police.
Yeah,
because that would be perfect for this. That would be perfect.
That would be perfect rule.
For this.
Okay, but what if instead of that they made You're Under Arrest?
That would be pretty good too. I
just really think they would work with that like super goofy stuff. But
look, man,
you're probably right.
If there's anything like 3 Minions movies have taught me, Tachikoma spin-off when.
I mean, let me tell you about Standalone Complex : Tachikomatic Days.
All right.
Is that a real thing?
Well, yeah. It's the things. It's like the shorts at the end of every episode.
Oh God, right? Yes, I've completely.
Yeah, the post credits. Like after every episode of Standalone Complex, there's like a 2-minute short about the Tachikomas doing.
I've completely forgotten that.
Yeah, and like it's just like shitpost humor, but also sometimes they philosophize about their personhood. Also, a weird amount of JoJo references. I did not catch that the first time I watched it.
I mean, look, it was written by a bunch of otaku in the 90s. Of course, there's a lot of JoJo references.
but yes, also, I have to actually one time here, Aqua. They are not Tachikoma in this version of Ghost of the Shell. They are Fuchikoma.
Oh, the Tachikoma is the big one.
No, Tachikoma are the blue ones
Oh,
in
okay.
Standalone Complex.
Yeah, sure.
The only ones that are called Tachikoma are the blue ones in the in Standalone Complex. Even the spider tank in the movie, I don't think it's actually given a coma designation.
It's never given a name. It is just a tank thing, and
It is just spider tank.
I've forgotten how like completely different that thing looks. It's like way more industrial. Yeah,
it rules.
I think like. Personally, I just call them Tachikoma all the time because of Standalone Complex.
For sure, right? Yes. So. It is probably the most iconic version of them these days.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to quickly get in, Draw This Then Die, one of the best JoJo references I've seen.
Oh my god, I forgot about that, man.
Like, the moment they did it, I was like, this has to be a JoJo reference, right? And then they just come out and say it, which is pretty great.
Okay. Well, it's another long one.
Look,
today, but we got so much going on, huh? I we're just finishing with Ghost in the Shell. Maybe I'll try to catch the movie before next time, but I should. I should probably watch that again, given it's been like 30 years. I may have not watched it exactly in 1995, but somewhere between 1995 and 1998. Let's say.
Right.
Obligatory reminder for Gel and anybody else who wants to go back and watch the movie: do not watch Ghost in the Shell 2.0.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out.
All
yes.
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we watched it on VHS at my friend's house.
I mean, 2.0 didn't even exist till
when I originally watched it.
No, you want the original. 2.0 is sort of the like George Lucas Star Wars remaster.
Oh, it's much worse than that.
Yeah, it is like the remaster of Ghost of the Shell that makes it worse by basically every conceivable measure.
They put Jar Jar Binks in every scene.
All right. Well, that will do it then for this episode. We'll get to our housekeeping. Check us out at theglorioblog.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at the Glorio Blog. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, of course, YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that good stuff. We got a pretty decent amount of views on YouTube this time because I had a thumbnail of Yanni Neko smoking pot, so maybe that should be a theme.
Famously welcome on YouTube.
Controversy creates cash.
Yeah. So anyway, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch everybody next time.
See, the restored version from 2001 brings back the lesbian orgy scene, but the bad thing is that Jar Jar